Are we live now? Okay. Welcome everybody to the Peabody Conservation Commission meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 11. At this time, we will continue to meet via Zoom until July 15. Remote participation is allowed in accordance with the section 26 of chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022 signed into law by Governor Baker on February 12, 2022, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law in the event that we are unable to do so on matters not requiring public hearing. We will post on the city's website an audio or video recording, transcript, and other comprehensive recording as soon as possible after the meeting. We have Amanda, Commissioner Green, Commissioner Arthur Athis, Secretary Mike Vivaldi, Vice Chairman, I think I don't see him, but we have Vice Chairman Mike Rizzo, and myself, Stuart Lazaris. As soon as other people join in, we can just announce that they're here. I'm going to jump, I'm going to go ahead on the, I shouldn't say, I'm going to take the agenda and put it on pause for a minute. I'd like to get a motion to ratify the emergency search for getting rid of the Beaver Dam. The search's been issued, the dam is in the process of getting breached, but we need to vote to ratify the certification. Do I have a motion to, or is there any discussion first?
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
This is my first time dealing with this on the commission, but this has been a problem for years, I guess. And then for anybody in the audience, they did a emergency order or whatever, and it states like who wanted it and everything. It's 61 Pine Street residents and everything, and basically the residents at 61 Pine Street who, instead of having taken any accountability for their bad decision to buy a house in a wetland, and then refused to do any construction to mitigate the problem on their property, instead turned to the city to trap and kill and break down the beaver dams that had the potential to flood their property. And they also said something about it there being a potential health issue with standing water, but they essentially live next to a swamp, so plenty of standing water there. And then it also stated something about a problem in Kennedy Field with the helipad for medical evacuations, and that's been wet there for over 40 years, so I don't know why it's always been fine. So but I did want to say that us in the commission, we really can't have no say in this. We're just ratifying. Work's already been commenced, and it's already been approved by the Board of Health. They signed off on it, and we really have no say at all. So we're basically like, I'm here to protect the wildlife, not destroy it. And I'm pretty upset about this, but one resident, and things got to die. But anyway, I said what I need to say.
I'm trying to look through, I know I saw that in one of the emails sent over by you, Lucia. I'm trying to locate the email to read up again on it.
Oh, I can share it if you want me to share it. I just want to say Mike Rizzo just called. He's having issues getting on. I don't know what happened. He just logged off and logged back on. But in the meanwhile, it looks like Travis, Commissioner Wojcik, and Commissioner Comack just logged on. So we're only waiting for hopefully Rita Marie and Mike Rizzo to come back on, but give me a second. I will find that and share my screen. Do you want the condition? What do you guys want? What bit of the emergency cert?
I just, whatever you have, I guess.
All right, give me one.
Arthur, it's dated May 9th, Monday, May 9th.
All right.
So where is Kennedy Park or
Kennedy Field is behind the, what happened? Kennedy Field is behind the school back there. It's off of, I guess Lowell Street and Roosevelt over there.
I don't believe so. I believe that Kennedy Field is, as it says here, off Pine Street and in between Lake Street.
Okay, there's a school there though. They're off of, thanks.
Yes, a defunct one. It's been turned into commercial property.
Right.
So this was a request from a resident in the area?
No, well, the Beavers, in this case, the Beavers have dammed up this small stream, if you will, from Elginwood Pond over by the bike path. And it goes from there is a small stream to Elginwood Pond on Lowell Street. And they dam this up, and people that live on Elginwood Pond experience flooding. And it's been going on for years. The Beavers
So-
are
so-
industrious, and we have a policy, and we have a contract with somebody who traps them, and this, and they take out the breach the dam.
And they
The
did
wa-
this 3 years ago, and then there was a drought, and then there was no water in the wetlands for the wildlife.
Well, in this case, the water is up 2 feet. Or if you get to the dam, you'll see it drop, 2 foot from where it is to the stream.
Can you guys see the aerial I just pulled up?
Yeah.
The house that's in blue is the one that does get flooding.
Mhm.
These are the Kennedy Fields, which is the helipad. And then this is normally, it's right around, there's a bench. I don't know if this is the bench. I think there's a little break and there's a bench somewhere right here, somewhere around here. And this is where one of the beaver dams normally happens. There's like a bottleneck. Oh, yeah, there's like a bottleneck. I think it's right here. And then I think there was another one closer. I didn't actually see it. And I don't believe the health department saw it either, but we know they're there. So did you guys want me to also pull up the cert? It looks like Mike Rizzo is back, but Mike, can you hear us? I'm not sure what's going on. All of a sudden, everything just got like, I'm not sure if someone's messing with our Zoom.
I don't
All of
know.
a sudden, everyone's gone.
I'm here.
And this time I'm here, so go figure.
So these people have experienced flooding because of these beaver dams.
Every year.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, this went back to when I first got on the commission. I was in the mayor's office, and he was telling me that ever since he became mayor, these people, the merchants, would call him every week to get rid of the beaver dam because their house was flooding. And
Can you hear me now?
yeah, can hear you fine, Mike. So it's been an ongoing thing, but we need to ratify the emergency search. It's done. Anybody want to make a motion? Is that Rita? Rita Marie, welcome.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Do they euthanize the animal? Is that what you're saying too?
Say it again?
Yes, yes, they trap them and kill them.
Yes,
They have to.
they
You
can't relocate.
them.
Yep.
Instead of them getting a sump pump, we gotta go through this crap all the time and kill stuff, lower the water table. Then the invasive species moves in. Then you get the algae blooms. Then the waterfowl has no place to go. You know, it's a disaster. But by all means, let's do this for this one house.
Well, the question I had, which I still am not comfortable with the answer, is why can't we put a beaver deceiver where the beavers build a dam? Because that would stop them from building the dam.
I
There's
suggest
two-
you guys got to read the Sharon Cameron and the city spent a lot of money on a beaver consultant, and the area that they keep on building, it's in that plan that I sent you guys. It's a 2019 beaver plan, and it basically says this is a no tolerant zone, because the way the way it's bottlenecked, it's just the beaver deceiver was in there for years and it wasn't working. I thought they removed all the remnants that weren't working, but Amanda was just there yesterday and I was on the phone with her when she was doing a site visit, and she said there's still like bits, but turtles are using it to sun their themselves, so it's fine.
Okay,
So could you get rid of these beavers? Are there some other beavers gonna come and?
well, they come every year.
Definitely. I think these are a bunch of families because it's one family and they weren't trapped. But my suggestion is, if you guys have an issue with this happening, read that beaver plan, and then you have to submit something in writing to me, and then I can forward it to Sharon and the mayor, and then we go
Okay.
from there. Because if you're not feeling that this is, right with the Conservation Commission, they need to know that. But I would suggest reading that the beaver plan from 2019, because this has all been, trust me, I don't want to see the beavers get killed either. And I have similar sentiments to Amanda, but it is what it is, unfortunately.
And where is that plan from 2019?
I can email it to you again. It should have been sent in an email, but I'll write it in my notes to email it to you guys again.
All right. So can we just like postpone this?
It's the done deal. It's
Mm.
already just in the
Already done.
future, if they want to breach again. It used to be like we would it was like out of control. It was like every 3 months, and DEP even called and was like, you guys cannot keep doing this. Like, and so
Right.
DEP knows that, DEP also has the same sentiments as Amanda, but unfortunately, we live in a world with nature and we have to take care of humans first. So I'm pretty sure DEP is aware of all this. Mass Wildlife gets copied. So as far as I know, this is a done deal. Everything went out. DEP's already been notified. Mass Wildlife's been notified. Health Department has a copy. DPS. Amanda, you said that the dam wasn't breached yesterday.
No, I only saw one dam. There's 2 beaver deceivers. I mean, one just looks like it's a bunch of sticks. It doesn't look
Yeah.
like beavers there. It just looks like it got clogged by flow and just brush. And then the other one that was still there. I didn't get a chance to check today.
Yeah, I would
And-
just suggest reading the Beaver, the 2019. I'll send it again. I'll try and do it like in between things. I'll email it to everyone. I would just suggest reading it first, because this was a long process over many years of properties flooding, as well as the helipad flooding.
I mean, I did write something 3 years ago, but my computer broke, so the one I had it on, I wrote a big, huge thing. but that got like totally like put in a trash can somewhere.
So is this already happening? The
It's
removal of
happening,
beavers?
Arthur. It's happening, Arthur.
Say it again?
It's happening. The health department issued the emergency certification to get the Beaver Dam breached, so we don't have flooding. And it happens periodically. There was another beaver dam that was off of Lowell Street by that red schoolhouse near Gooddale. And beavers built like a good 100-yard beaver dam, raised the water level considerably, and water stopped going into Crystal Lake. So periodically you gotta take it, take charge of the environment.
That's ridiculous. Jesus.
So are we just gonna continue this or?
I'll make a motion to ratify this emergency certification for this property at 61 Pine Street.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Want to do a roll call?
Oh, hold on, I thought you guys wanted me to share that. So I have a motion to ratify the emergency cert made by Secretary Vivaldi, seconded by Travis Wojek. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
No,
Commissioner Athis,
No?
Commissioner Wojek,
Yes.
Commissioner Komack,
Yes.
Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so it passes 6-2 with Amanda. And that was author both voting no, correct?
Right.
Isn't that one too many, Lucia?
Nope, there's 8 of you.
I thought there was just 7 commission.
Well, Rita's on and she's an alternate. And since we, oh wait, you're right. Yep, thank you. I thought, for some reason, I thought someone was missing. So 5-1. And sorry, Rita, you don't get voting privileges tonight.
All right.
Could you still send that email on the,
Yep, I already did.
okay.
Lucia, wasn't it 5-2 because Rita?
5-2.
Yep, if anyone, any of the full members leave though before, if you could please text me and let me know so that Rita will have voting rights.
I won't stay past like 9 o'clock if I don't have voting rights, just so that you know. Because what's the point of that? So I just want to let you know I'm not going to stay up till like 11 o'clock at night if I don't have any comment on it. Okay, I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm just telling you that it's for my personal schedule.
Stu, you're muted.
The next issue I want to bring up is our July meeting date. And it has to do with the expiration of the Zoom meetings from the governor. And I'd like to get a motion to change the July 27th date to, what did you say, July 13?
15, I thought she said.
15 is when it ends. But 15
Hold on, I'll
that's
look
a
on a
Thursday.
calendar.
Yeah.
July 13th it's
A Wednesday.
July 13th is a Wednesday.
So that would be when our meeting would be.
Right now it's scheduled, I think it's on the website as the 27th.
Correct.
But
that would be live, not Zoom at this time.
correct. So if you are hoping to remain Zoom as long as you possibly can, you guys would want to change that meeting until July 13th instead of July 27th. And then we normally don't meet in August.
Right. That's what I'm recommending.
I'll be away on July 13th.
Okay,
Yeah,
we need a roll call on this.
So do you guys want to leave it as is and meet in person on the 27th in the Wigan Auditorium? Or did you want to change it to July 13th and Zoom till the last day possible?
It doesn't matter to me. I can't be here on the 27th, but
I'll be away on the 13th, but I'll have my phone with me and my iPad. I might be able to do a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
What's the majority of the commission's feelings about it? Like if everyone who wants the July 13th to Zoom, raise your hand, July 27th in person. And if Charlie Baker changes it and the mayor allows, we couldn't do Zoom, but I don't anticipate Charlie Baker extending the Zoom anymore. I mean, people are coming to work sick. It's just like no holds barred again.
Make it the 13th.
well, I vote for the 27th.
Thirteenth.
Either
So,
way,
so far I have
doesn't
Stewart.
affect me.
Oh my God. Can everyone raise their hand for the 13th right now? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people for the 13th, 6 people for the 13th. 27th in person. So only one person wants to meet in person. So I will change the website to the 13th. And you don't need to make a motion. I just will change. It says that the dates are subject to change without notice. So as long as I do it in the morning, it's fine.
On with the meeting. Certificates of compliance. And the first two are continued. So we can do a motion for both of them at the same time. The first one is a continued request for a full certificate of compliance made by Attorney Matthew Snell on behalf of Stall Industries. Project was the construction of a service building with associated appurtenances and land grading. The address is known as 13 Corwin Street. The second item is a continued request for a full certificate of compliance, again made by Attorney Matthew Snell on behalf of Stall Industry. This project is the construction of a commercial building with associated appurtenances, a grading and mitigation efforts for the demolition of an existing building and its appurtenances to accommodate commercial building. Address is known as 13 Corwin Street. Do I have a motion to continue?
I move to continue DEP file 55-312 and DEP 55-323 until June, wait a minute,
15.
June 15th, thanks.
I'll second that.
I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call. There was a motion made by Commissioner Athis, seconded by Vice Chairman Rizzo to continue items 1 and 2 for DEP file number 55312 and 55323, both addresses 13 Corwin Street. Roll call, Chairman Lazares.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo.
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi.
Yes,
Commissioner Green.
yes,
Commissioner Athis.
Yes,
Commissioner Wojcik.
Yes.
Commissioner Komack.
Yes.
All right, it's continued until June 15th, 7-0.
Okay, item 3, continued request for a full certificate of compliance made by Frederick Hastrop, Neptune Engineering on behalf of 160 Main Street Realty LLC, Nikolai Polanovsky for DEP file 55793. The project was a redevelopment of previously degraded site for commercial and residential use. The address is known as 166 Main Street, map 086, lot 150B, Peabody, Mass. Partial certificate of compliance has been issued, and the item would remain on the agenda until a full certificate of compliance can be, is requested. Currently, and I need your help on this, Bruce. I want to place crushed stones down along a planting area in the riverfront. And he did this to eradicate knotweed, but I think it's going to interfere with his plantings of whatever he's putting down there, bearberry plants, which is a ground cover. Do you think that'll interfere with it, Bruce?
The crushed stone or the knotweed?
The crushed stone.
I don't know what, he's not planting them in crushed stone.
No, he's
planting them in soil, and the crushed stone won't interfere with it.
It'll spread.
It will spread still.
Okay. So
Yeah, there's a layer of like erosion control fabric down, and then I'm assuming that the landscaper Nikolai is here.
Yep.
So I think, and Nikolai, please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that they put the fabric down to smother the knotweed.
Well, what they did, they put 2 layers of fabric that gonna protect us from Japanese weed on the all the way from the retaining wall to the property line, and then before putting the smallest crash stone in size, I mean, they planted whatever was required, and they said crash stone will protect from Japanese weed in case the fabric gonna be perforated by their Japanese weed. So so far, I mean, Lucia, as you saw on site, we don't have any Japanese weed on the property. No new kind of growings. So far it works, and all the trees requested and required by the special permit, they surviving. So I mean, we're ready for the second season, and hopefully we'll be okay next year.
It's recommended that the final certificate of compliance shall not be issued until after the second growing season.
Yes,
So
sir.
we can, that's what I would suggest. Make sure everything grows the way it's supposed to. Make a motion for continuing till the fall.
Motion to continue.
Seconded.
Roll call.
I have a motion to continue the certificate of compliance request for 166 Main Street made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Wojcik. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I was just asked to do something, so I'm a little flustered right now. All right. Roll call. Chairman Lazaris.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo.
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi.
You're on mute, Mike.
Yes, sorry about that.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik.
Yes.
Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right. So when you guys say continue to the fall, what do you mean? Do you mean September? Do you mean October? Do you mean November?
I think October is a good point.
October meeting?
When is it? When is it 2 seasons?
I believe. Nikolai, when did you plant them?
I can email you the exact date. I just it's over a year now, but I honestly I don't remember the exact date. I can look it up in an email right now if you give me like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the witch hazel and the maple were not looking good when I was out there. If you guys compare the pictures of 2021 to 2022, like the witch hazel looks like it's dying. And there was definitely Japanese knotwood growing in. There's also pictures of that. It's showing. I told him to try to hand pull them or cut them and put like a spray into it directly. I don't know if someone else has a better idea. I mean, I would prefer no chemical.
Well, it was all done over the weekend, so it was whatever, like we found like 10 sturms, we pulled them out and it was treated with the same solution that was prescribed before. And every tree and stuff, they're gonna be treated with you know, special mix to kind of help them grow a little bit more. Because I mean it's spring, so we'll see. I mean that's why 2 years were requested to see if we have to replace any or some of it later on.
Yep. And you guys don't think that the stone is going to hinder the bearberry? I mean, I thought the rhizomes like go under the ground and then they sprout out and they won't be able to, but I don't know enough about it. Or will they just start growing? I think there was 29 bearberry that I counted. He said 30, so there's probably 30 and I counted wrong. 4 elderberry, 4 witch hazel, and I didn't count the maple trees, I guess. Because now is the time, if you guys want, if you guys want to look at the pictures, now is the time. If you guys don't care now, you can't tell him in October, you know, like, because he needs to know now so he can buy stuff, because I'm sure he wants to close this out.
Well, the thing is, we planted more than was required to make sure that if something happens, but I mean, I'll be happy to add more, but you guys in charge. I mean,
Is there any way, Lucia, you can pull up those pictures for us real quick so I don't have to go through
Sure.
like 40 things?
Can you guys see these pictures?
Yes.
All right, so this is the retaining wall. The river's right here. Where this black is, he doesn't own this, and this is all Japanese knotweed right here. And then the river's right here. So this is the restoration area. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this tree looks kind of sad. And then the bearberries aren't, you know, they're not looking the greatest either. I'm just worried that they're gonna get, I feel like the pictures from last year, like I can go back and show you the pictures from last year. But there is knotweed coming up. So this is all on, so knotweed can get through everything. This is from a different angle looking down. So like each one of these is bearberry. So
You look like you're dead.
yeah, they're not looking great. I mean, they look much better in this picture, but like I think this is the witch hazel, or this one might be the witch hazel, or both of these are the witch hazel, and that's what I'm saying. Like they're not looking great. Let me go back to the pictures in 2021. So he definitely put them in 2021 because I took these pictures in October. So they look a lot more robust here. Like this guy actually has leaves on it. I mean, I guess it is still early spring, but a lot of other things have popped by now. This is the wall and that's the building. So did you guys want to see any specific picture that I went by super fast? Do you have like, or are you guys good?
It looks like, yeah, they look like they're not in very good shape.
Through the chair. Unfortunately, because of the situation where the knotweed is not on his property, and with the invasive ability of knotweed, he's basically shoveling sand into the ocean because he could treat and eradicate all the knotweed, and that's a big job in itself. But if he can't go, the knotweed doesn't know where the property line is. So no matter what he's going to do, it's going to be completely impossible for him to stop that knotweed. I mean, it's literally physically impossible because he can treat all he wants, But as soon as he stops treating, it's gonna just go right back.
And is the knotweed what that was, the pictures that were shown, is that what's being, or is that the bearberry or something else?
Well, she showed knotweed poking up through the bearberry.
Oh, I see, a combination of both.
Right.
That knotweed sounds like his problem, not ours.
Well,
Well, it's not his property, so I don't know how I honestly don't know how he can stop that.
Just gonna have to keep doing mechanical removal when it comes under his property.
So the
Right.
other plantings that look like they're very in stress, is that because of all the stone and the barrier, or?
No, I don't necessarily think, I can't tell by the pictures if they're in stress or not. I mean, that I can't, the bearberry this time of year has a lot of red leaf to it. You see you see the knotweed that she's showing now coming up through the bearberry. If she had some close-up pictures of the bearberry, which I thought were good. But that's what, right, yeah, you see the red leaf on that bearberry. That's just typical bearberry this time of year. It does do that, but also, I mean, that looks to me that one picture, and again, I can't speak to all of them. That one picture looks like a very healthy bearberry to me.
Yeah, what about the pictures on picture on 5 of 6?
I mean,
That one,
bearberry's hard.
that one right there. What about that picture? Those,
You put crushed stone and landscape fabric, most plants are gonna have a rough time.
Right. No, the landscape fabric shouldn't actually affect the plants because the water drains through, and the crushed stone makes it just makes it hotter. So that's basically all the crushed stone does, versus if they mulched it.
And it adds weight.
But the again, just that picture just demonstrates it right there. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
he can hand pick it until he's going to hand pick it until he gets approval, which I don't know what, but I don't know how you stop that, because like, again, the knotweed is there. It doesn't know what a property line is. It just grows. And
Yes.
it's pretty much the most invasive weed around, because it has a waxy film.
Can you target treat those sprouts that come up? Like when whoever the landscaper is or takes care of the property stuff, can they like come and look and target those with, I don't know, whether it be Roundup or some other product that can individually target the plants?
So unfortunately, the time that you treat knotweed is when it's in flower. And unfortunately, because the reason it's so invasive and hard to eradicate is because it has a thick wax on the leaves and on all the stems, and Roundup is foliar absorbed,
Yeah.
and it's not foliar absorbed on knotweed. It just doesn't work. So the only way you can essentially eradicate knotweed, it's a very tedious thing, is you prune it. The stems are hollow, and you literally have to inject the Roundup into the stem, because
Wow.
the inside of the stem there's no wax, and the inside of the stem, it does get absorbed. So I've had instances where people literally have gone out with not a needled syringe, but a syringe, cut them, and spent days injecting all of it, because it has to get all the way to the root, and it spreads through the roots. So that's what the problem is here. And again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. I'm just telling you what the honest to God is going to happen.
Yeah, through the chair, it was part of the eradication, or the trying to eradicate was part of the order of conditions. This is a pretty old order of conditions. So I mean, it's from 2015. And as you can see, like right here, this is the knotweed. So I think his roots are going under, and he's just springing up over here. And there was more popping up everywhere pretty much. So, I mean, you guys can give him a full certificate of compliance tonight if you wanted to. From what I hear, I just learned today butterflies actually use knotweed. So maybe it's not a terrible thing to have the knotweed here. Like, I don't know.
It's
He just
actually a major bees, major pond for bees too.
What if we wait till the fall then and see how this plays out?
Well, again, we really, if it's when they say it's 2 years, I don't know if it's 2 years or 2 growing seasons, but if he planted it in the spring of 21, then it would really be the spring of 23 where the 2 years is up. So again, I'm not saying what we
I
should
think
do.
it's 2 growing seasons. I think generally it's 2 growing seasons.
Right. So, you know, it would be the fall. Because nothing's growing over the winter.
All right, so you guys already made a motion then to continue this until October, Nikolai, so you'll have to come back. Me and you'll probably meet out there again like before October. The motion's already been made. It was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Wojcik. So we will see you in October and I will bug you beforehand.
Perfect. Well, I just want to make a comment. I don't want to put more chemicals because I don't want to kill the good trees and bushes and stuff. I want to see how it goes because I contacted the guys that planted it. I found their number. So they told me to wait till like June, July. And then they suggested basically hand pulling out because, I mean, more chemicals might kill the trees and the bushes, the good ones. So, I mean, I'd rather do it by hand for now to see what happens in the fall. And I mean, like I said, the rest on your picture, Lucia, is like not my property. I mean, honestly, I don't know how to handle across the border because I don't want to get in legal trouble and stuff.
Okay. So we'll see you in the fall.
We take a vote on that?
Thank you.
Do we need a roll call, Lucia?
I already did it. We ended up having the discussion after you guys made the motion. I did the roll call. It was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Wojcik, 7-0. And then I stopped and started asking you guys, what do you mean by the fall? And then I pulled up the picture. So it was my fault for going on a tangent there.
All right. Okay. So we'll see you in the fall.
Thank you.
Next, item 4, request for a full certificate of compliance made by Mel Higgins from Weston and Sampson on behalf of the Salem Country Club for DEP file 55-821. The project was temporary improvements for a senior open in 2017. The address is known as 160 Forest Street, map 70, lot 3A. No work was ever conducted under this permit and it has lapsed. It is no longer valid. So we're recommending a motion for a full certificate of compliance, checking off the box that states an invalid order of conditions, certified that the work regulated by this reference order of conditions never commenced. The order of conditions is lapsed and therefore no longer valid. No future work subject to the regulation under Wetlands Protection Act may commence without filing a new notice of intent and receiving a new order of conditions. So Salem Country Club will have to start over. This is for the parking lot that they paved over for the senior open.
Nope, this is for a tents village that was never ever done. And then they decided to do the parking lot, the illegal work on the parking lot that you're talking about. So I'm going to leave it over to Mel. But this was for a tent village that was legally permitted. And then it ended up, and it was for the senior opening, but then it ended up getting nixed and they went with the other down the way, the illegal parking lot.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Lucia. For the record, my name is Mel Higgins with Wetson and Sampson, representing the Salem Country Club. I believe Peter Fischel and Bill Rocco from the Salem Country Club are also in attendance. I just can't see them. But as Lucia said, this was originally a notice of intent was submitted to build. This was going to be for temporary drop-off pickup area for the 2017 U.S. Senior Open. And it was supposed to include temporary enclosures for concessions, merchandising, a wellness tent, courtesy facilities, and scooter rental, things like that. As Lucia said, it was just never, none of the work was done for this. And so we are just looking, Lucia had brought this to our attention a couple of months ago, that this is just sort of a straggling thing that we need to clean up. So we're just filing the request for a certificate of compliance for this, so we could close out this order of conditions.
Wasn't there a planting plan that was required, planting trees?
That was for the other parking lot, which is a different DEP file number. But that's the one where there was an enforcement order that was issued, and an after the fact notice of intent was submitted. And you're correct, there was a restoration plan for that one, but not for this one.
Okay.
Through the chair, that one is DEP file number 55-845, and that is part of our current enforcement order. It should be like the one of the last action items. The one that Mel here is asking about is actually 150 Forest Street, 55-821, temporary improvements for senior opening. I believe it was called the Tents Village was the project name. It's on the Crestwood side of the street.
So what we're saying is that this just has to be checked off the boxes that no work was done, correct?
That's correct.
With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to issue a full certificate of compliance for an invalid order of conditions.
Get a second?
Second.
Roll
All right.
call.
That motion was made by Travis. Who seconded it?
Mike Vivaldi.
All right, give me one moment.
Second.
All right, so motion made for a full certificate of compliance, checking off the invalid box as made by Commissioner Wojak, seconded by Secretary Vivaldi. Roll call. Chairman Lazares.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo.
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Athos.
Yes.
Commissioner Wojak.
Yes.
Commissioner Komack.
Yes.
All right, so 55-821 has a motion passed unanimously for a full certificate. And
Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you. Next is request for determination of applicability. Item 5, public hearing for request determination of applicability submitted by Lorraine Sulis. The owner. Proposed work is the installation of an above ground pool to be installed on an existing fenced grassed-in yard space. Property is known as 10 Wright Road, map 98, lot 80 in Peabody, Mass. Recommend a negative determination with the following conditions. Erosion control installed, inspected before work can commence. In the event a swimming pool is placed on a lot, following conditions shall apply. Content of water in the swimming pools can be detrimental to wetland plant and animal species. To remove harmful chemicals, it's the applicant's responsibility to leave pool water standing without the additional chlorine for a minimum of 7 days before draining. And you can drain it into the street, the city's stormwater system. Once the chlorine's been, evaporated, it's this way chlorine concentration is significantly reduced due to volatilization. All pool water, wherever possible, shall be drain through a dry well rather than allowed to spread over the surface of the land. It can be drained off-site to storm drain. The City of Peabody Conservation Commission shall be notified prior to draining and shall approve the method of draining. This condition is in perpetuity. Mayor, I guess I need a motion to.
Wait, you're not gonna, you have to like have them present the project. I mean, do you want me to share the screen? We have to open this to members of the public before you guys can make any motion.
Yes.
Open this to the public?
No, it's show us the plan and.
All right,
Okay.
give me 1 second. Hold on. Lori, I'm gonna share the plan for you if you just give me a second.
Sure. Thank you, Lucia.
Oh, there she is.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for
Hi.
your time this evening.
It's a no-brainer.
There's two plans. There's this plan, the surveyor plan, and then there's another plan showing the wetlands, but it does not have the pool on it. So the blue box is the house, that's the wetlands, and as you just saw on that last, right here. This is an above ground pool. So that condition that you said would be applicable, and I would definitely recommend that you guys would put that in a negative determination.
Also,
What's the topography of the property? Is it relatively flat?
yes, sir. It's a flat backyard. Also, just to clarify, it's a Gibraltar above ground pool. Has the eco-friendly system, filtration system. Also does not require the annual draining for seasonal storage. It doesn't require draining at all every year. We would adhere to happily, any draining would go to the street after the waiting period of beyond even 7 days for chemicals. We're very sensitive to these wetlands. We're not here to, embark on them. We want to coexist with them. But again, this is a Gibraltar specific above ground. We chose it specifically because it doesn't require annual draining, which I felt was a better spot for it as far as relation to the wetlands and a better selection. So this is not like the traditional above ground pool where you'd have to drain it annually to store it and cover it.
You just have to lower the water to below the skimmer, is that right?
No, this one they just literally put, like the trampoline like cover? I don't know how to express it. It's like a trampoline like cover. It wraps around the top with blocks. So you don't have to drain it at all. You don't have to do annual draining. This is why we went with this specific pool. It was slightly more expensive, but we wanted to make sure we were doing the right thing by not having to drain annually. Again, if we had to drain it for any unforeseen reason, the draining to the front of the property is very easy. As you can see, it's really not that far from the front property line in the street. A hose could easily meet that distance to drain if we had to.
And if I may, what is the closest point from the pool to the closest part of the wetlands?
We didn't have it literally measured out. We have 7.5 feet from that line you see. Is the property line. We have 7.5 feet. We're coming in from our fence line. This property is already fenced in. It's my understanding that a fence, when we bought the house, the fence was here. We didn't measure, but a fence is supposed to be a foot from your property line if the person adhered to standards, which I hope they did. So we're talking 8.5 feet from the fence. From the property line, 7.5 feet from the fence. I did do an assessment of another spot in our yard. I looked everywhere in our yard. As the RDA articulates, I did an assessment in the idea of moving the pool to the right side of the backyard. Yes, it would put it further from the wetlands, but it also, if you look there, you can see there's a deck, and next to the deck, that little area is a 3-season porch. I am trying to be a mindful owner of a pool and did not want to entice a 4.5 foot of water underneath a 2nd-story porch. I just felt that was a bad idea as far as hazards. So we're trying to be mindful of wetlands, home location, roof location, etc.
That's fine. I'm just curious. I don't know if you had a sense or if Lucia had a sense of, but thank you for your response.
Sure.
Through the chair, is it, or to the chair, or Lucia, is it safe to say that this entire property is within the 100-foot buffer?
Through the chair, I would say yes.
Yeah. I would too.
Great.
only
That
only have
being
40
said,
feet.
okay.
So I only have
That
40
being
feet in
said,
my
yeah, I do appreciate that you're going to drain to the front if you ever do have to. Being such a small wetland, it would definitely be susceptible to changes from any sort of chemicals or minerals or any other sort of substances in that water. So thank you.
No, I'm happy to drain to the front. It makes more sense. And again, there's no argument here. I agree 100%. We enjoy the wetlands behind us. We want to protect it as much as you guys do.
Well, thank you.
Oh, happy to, honestly.
So do we get a motion for a negative determination?
You need to open it to members of the public first. So now would be the time if someone in the audience would like to speak for or against this. Now would be the time to do it. And then you guys can go ahead. You would have to close the public hearing first, and then you would make that motion. And my recommended conditions, and I've already spoke to the property owner, I believe, about this, because normally I do. Lori, if I didn't, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure I talked about it to you, saying that you would need to install erosion controls, even though they're not shown in that plan. But they would have to run along that back of the lot unless you have, is your fence completely flush to the ground? And is it like a stockade fence with no holes, like no, like would it act as an erosion barrier, or would we need to maybe throw a silt fence up along it just in case? I don't think a lot of groundwork is going to happen here.
You know, it's to the ground, or as to the ground as you can put it's wood. It's a wood fence, solid wood fence. It's to the ground as close as you can put a wood fence to the ground. And the company, Gibraltar, has said there's very minimal, it's such a flat yard that there's very minimal work taking place here. It's literally just taking a flat yard to a level position, obviously, for the pool. There's little to no flange.
Grading.
There's little to no grading. It's literally just taking the flat yard we have, making sure it's completely level. And what little digging they do, I mean, I welcome you, Lucia, at any time. That's what they've told me. I have to go on their word too, obviously. If it got anywhere to the point where we thought there was major erosion going on, you know, we would definitely consider working in fixing that. But I don't see any erosion with the way it's as flat as it is, and with the fence as flat to the ground as it is. It's pretty much a barrier.
So it's basically the commission's call. Typically, you guys would always require erosion control. So I think because they're not shown on the plan, they definitely have to be listed in the determination. So either you don't think they need erosion controls, or we need to have at a minimum a silt fence wrapped up against that fence so that there's some sort of a barrier, or a compost log thrown right up against it.
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
I think that it is good practice to require erosion controls. I don't think that it would be too burdensome to require that, as we require it with nearly all other applicants.
Yeah, I mean, this is technically like it should be an NOI. It's really close. I would say it's like 10 feet maybe to the wetlands. I think it would be a disservice if you guys didn't require erosion controls of some sort.
Well,
I support that.
I recommended that in the beginning of this discussion, that erosion controls be installed and inspected before work can commence. And I would ask somebody to put that in the motion.
Through the chair, I would definitely suggest that as a condition. And then the second condition would be the swimming pool condition that you also spoke aloud.
Right, that we do not drain chlorine into the wetlands or anywhere, just let it sit for 7 days. And those conditions would be in perpetuity. Anybody in the public have something to say?
There is no one in the public. You
Okay,
guys can
so-
go ahead and close the public hearing and then make that negative determination if you so wish.
All right,
Motion to close the public hearing, please.
I'll second that.
All right, motion to close, made by Travis, seconded by Arthur. Roll call. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Chairman Lazares,
yes,
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi.
Yes, this is just to close the public hearing, correct?
Yep, I have to do a roll call, sorry. Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes,
Commissioner Cromack.
Yes,
All right, so it's closed 7-0.
so the negative determination, but with conditions.
yes,
So conditions will be that prior to any work that you notify Lucia that the erosion controls are in place so she can come by and inspect them or get a photo from you as whatever Lucia, how she wants to handle that before you do any digging.
Yes,
Okay, that's the only condition and that you discharge any, if you have to drop the level in the pool, that you pump it to the front of the house.
absolutely.
Through the chair, just to add, without adding chlorine for 7 days.
Correct.
That will all be in the determination though, so you don't have to remember all this, Lori. Don't worry.
do I hear a
All right.
second? Do I hear a second? Mike,
Second,
roll call?
Yep, okay, so there's a motion for a negative determination. Condition 1, erosion controls installed and inspected by the agent. And number two, condition number 2 is the pool condition in perpetuity. That motion was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Secretary Vivaldi. Roll call. Chairman Lazares,
Yes,
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
yes,
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
yes,
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes,
Commissioner Cromack.
yes,
All right, so that passed unanimous 7-0. Lori, I still have to draft it, so I won't be able to sign off on your pool permit until it's drafted and it's passed all appeal periods. I will try my hardest to get it done early next week.
Okay. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
thank you.
thank you. Have a nice night.
You too.
All right, item 6. Public hearing on a request for determination of applicability submitted by North Coast Environment, Inc., Michael Rostenkowski Jr. Proposed work to establish temporary no-impact vehicle wash location on property to occasionally clean vehicle residue, dust, dirt, sap, and other organics that may accumulate on panels, windshields, and windows. Property is known as 119R Foster Street, Building 7, map 94, lot 006F, Peabody, Mass. We've been asked to continue this. Is that correct, Lucia?
I received a few emails today asking for a continuance because apparently the consultant is touring some islands and doesn't have web connectivity.
So,
make a motion to continue to our next meeting.
second that
Seconded.
motion.
roll call?
All right, motion to continue 119 Roof Foster Street RDA. That motion was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Athos. Roll call. Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
yes,
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Comac.
I've been brought to my attention that I have a conflict on this one, so I am not gonna recuse myself on anything to do with this.
All right, so that would be 6-1 with Bruce recusing himself. So if anyone is in the audience, I don't think anyone is in the audience, but if you are, this will be heard at the June 15th hearing.
Notices of intent. Number 7 on the agenda. Continued public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by Hancock Associates for Michael Larkin at 40 Oak Street Development LLC. Proposed work is site improvements and redevelopment, in which includes a 40B housing project, paved vehicular and pedestrian access, landscape areas, connection to municipal utility services, and a stormwater management service system. The property is known as 40 Oak Street, maps 95, lot 89X in Peabody, Mass. We've been asked to continue this until after the 40B application is accepted.
I would
And
move
we
to
have all
continue.
categories.
Well, Michael Larkin's here. I just promoted him. I only because I saw him. I didn't want to be rude. Hi, Michael.
How are you?
I did receive a few emails asking to requesting a continuance until June 15th. It would be my recommendation to the commission to, hold off voting fully on this until after the 40B is 100% a done deal. But we can certainly hear it at the June 15th meeting if the commission wants to hear it. It's in peer review right now. We just got a slew of new emails. I thought yesterday, and there's just no way anyone was going to be able to review them. So I believe that's the reason why we would be continuing. And I'm going to put it over to Mr. Larkin.
Yeah, as you said, Lucia, just continue to June 15th hearing date at the moment. As I said, we got multiple documentation, so we've sent back, but hasn't reviewed it fully yet. So we're just going to wait for that to happen. So we just requesting continues till June 15th.
I move to continue.
Second,
to June 15th.
second,
Second,
Okay, so motion made by author, seconded by Mr. Vivaldi to continue to June 15th. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
yes,
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
and Commissioner Comac.
Yes.
All right, so 40 Oak, if you're in the audience, this is continued until June 15th if you would like to join the discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8, continued public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by attorney Jack Kelty for Michael Bonfiglio. Proposed work is the redevelopment of a former leather factory site. Property is known as 49 Tremont Street, map 78, lot 402, Peabody, Mass. And Jack, are you ready to talk to us? I thought I saw him there.
Can you hear me?
There he is. Yes, we can hear you.
My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street. I appear on behalf of Michael Bonfiglio. This matter in various forms has been before the board for a couple of months. I believe that we finally have the appropriate filing before the board. I believe also that we have provided sufficient information to the board and the engineering department. And I would like to explain that this is construction taking place in the same manner as was proposed under an expired order of conditions. We now are seeking our own order of conditions to build this particular building in the same place and in the same manner with the same drainage plans as was originally proposed. Mr. Bonfiglio, in his efforts to build this lot, also build this building, I'm sorry, also has the obligation to replicate a wetlands area riverfront enhancement project, and we are pleased to say that Mr. Bonfiglio is a landscaper, and as such, we're fortunate that he has the special skills necessary to plant the enhancement package. And we eagerly await the opportunity to begin that planting. And we're hopeful that we could do so if we're granted this order of conditions. Thank you.
Open this to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Were we able to see that landscape plan so we know what the plants are that are going in there?
Thought we did.
There should
We
be
did.
a riverfront,
Enhancement.
it's actually just a couple pieces
Narrative.
of paper. Yeah, it's a narrative.
Prepared by Bill Manuel, and that does set forth the plantings type and nature. And we changed from the original suggestion in the original order. We've agreed after a site visit to keep, I think it is a total of 6 or perhaps 7 trees that are already thriving. We're going to leave them rather than remove them, and then provide the additional enhancement as set forth in that wetlands and land management enhancement plan.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Lucia. All these are supposed to go in that little patch.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot of hemlocks for there. 52 shrubs. Wow.
It's an enhancement plan.
Yeah. It's gonna be overgrown in like 2 years.
Perfect.
Yeah, but the area where it's at, they'll expose the river a little bit and make it look nice.
I mean, I honestly, most of the plants probably aren't going to survive anyway. So
Yeah. Suga canadensis doesn't get 4 to 6 feet tall.
I think that's the size. I think that's the size they want to plant them at.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the hell?
Are there any other questions that the board may have?
You satisfied all the comments from DPS, correct? From Bob Langley?
Yes, we've been reviewed by Bob Langley, and Mr. Langley has also suggested that in order for Mr. Bonfiglio to seek a certificate of compliance, the general requirements of the other portions of the drainage plan must need be complied with. And we're working in concert with Mr. Danisco and with Mr. Politz to get to the end of the line for their certificate of compliance, which would favorably impact us.
Okay. Okay, I'm good.
through the chair, I did give you guys 2 recommended sample motions at first, and I said that I was in preference of a more strict order, but I feel like after thinking about it, I've changed my mind a little bit. My recommended conditions would be standard OOC 1 through 50, adding the riverfront, and 51 being the riverfront enhancement plan shall commence at the same time as the foundation and site prep, and a partial or full certificate of compliance will not be issued until the work is complete. I spoke to Mr. Bonfiglio on site and he said that he had no problem doing that. He wanted to do it a month ago. 52, condition 52 would be the large trees and non-invasive plant species shall not be removed from the riverfront unless in bad health, as stated in the revised riverfront enhancement plan. 53, an as-built plan is required for the issuance of a partial or full certificate of compliance. 54, the existing trash rack must be replaced before the certificate of compliance is issued, partial or full. 55, monthly reports. Once work starts, reports should be submitted via email on a monthly basis. And 56, add all of DPS conditions and any conditions that the commission deem necessary.
For the chair, if there's nobody has any other comments, then I would recommend to issue an order of conditions. Have we closed the hearing?
No.
No.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Before you do, you want to open it to the public, though. I don't think it's been open.
Oh, okay.
So now would be the time. If you're in the audience and you would like to speak, please raise your hand and we will allow you to speak for or against this project.
I don't see
I
anybody.
don't think there's anyone here.
Okay. Move to close public hearing.
Make the motion to close the public hearing.
Seconded.
All right, motion to close made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Wojcik. Roll call on the close. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
and Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right, so it is closed 7-0, and now it is up to you guys to come up with an order of conditions with conditions.
Through the chair, I would like to make a recommendation to issue an order of conditions. Conditions 1 through 50, and then the other conditions that Lucia had mentioned, condition number 51, without repeating, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, and 56.
I
There's-
second that. I second it.
Roll call.
Yep, so who, I missed who, I was trying to write, who seconded that motion?
Like Secretary Vivaldi.
All right, and Jack, you're okay with all those conditions, correct?
Yes, I am.
All right,
Yes.
so roll call. So that motion was made. It was order of conditions 1 through 50, adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 conditions, which 56 would be all of the DPS conditions that were in the memo that you received. So it's going to be more than 56 conditions. But anyway, roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
and Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right, I will try to work on that as soon as possible. That is adopted unanimously 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Item 9, public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by Horsley Witten, Inc., Brian Kuchar for City of Peabody Community Development Department, Andrew Levin, Senior Planner. The proposed work is an accessible pedestrian walking path through an existing wooded area connecting James Street Park, Emerson Park, and Higgins Middle School. Property is known as 0 Perkins Street, map 84, lot 214 in Peabody, Mass. We have yet to receive a full application still, correct? Lucia?
It's on the OneDrive. I have not reviewed it, but I believe Andrew would like to at least present it at this meeting. I have no comments and neither does the city engineer, but Andrew and Brian would absolutely love to give you guys a little intro in case there's anyone in the audience.
Take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Andrew Levin, planner with the City of Peabody Community Development Department. This is a project that is part of the overall Emerson Heights Eco Campus. This is phase 2 of that project. We're looking to connect all the recreation and open space parcels that exist in the Perkins Street, Emerson Park, James Street area. The project that we have here is the James Street Eco Campus Hub. As I mentioned, this is phase 2. You know, there's the multimodal pathway that currently exists along Emerson Park. Phase 2 of this project is to create a system of trails going from
Can you stop for a quick minute? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know Peabody all that well. Can you elaborate where this is a little bit more?
Yeah, so the project that's here before you tonight is the James Street baseball field, the Higgins Middle School. This is a field that abuts it. It's off of James Street. There's a basketball court.
Oh, yeah, on the top of the hill there. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
This phase 2 of this project of connecting all these pathways is the creation of this Eco Campus Hub, which will be a series, system of trails that will be from James Street through the woods to the Higgins Middle School. With me tonight is Brian Kuchar from Horsley Witten Group. He has been our project lead on this, and I believe he has a presentation for all of you this evening. Yeah, so this is showing it right now. So in that wooded area between the baseball field and the Higgins is where we're looking to create a system of pathways.
Through the chair, where is there a wetland near here?
So it's, if you're looking at that picture that Lucia has up right now, it is at the top left of the property. Sorry, it's a little bit more towards the property line. I believe, Lucia, Brian forwarded you the plans and presentation, and or if you let Brian share his screen, he has a presentation for this meeting as well.
Brian should have access to share his screen.
Looks like I can.
I was just trying to help you out, Andrew, by pulling that up because it sounded like Mike really wanted to know where it was.
Perfect. Yeah, and I can go through that too. Could everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to allowing us to present. As Lucia mentioned, we have filed a complete application, but we understand that this is an information-only meeting to allow more time for everyone to actually review the project and go through the NOI that was submitted. So I think Andrew did a great job sort of laying the framework here in what the project entails. This is part of a larger connectivity plan for this area. This was one of the first projects that was identified in that connectivity plan. Just to give everyone a point of reference, Lucia kind of went through this, but just as a reminder here, we have James Street, Perkins. This parcel abuts the Higgins School to the west, and the intent is to connect through the James Street Park, through this woodland area, and provide a pedestrian access to the school. And then, as Andrew mentioned, it would be part of a larger connectivity plan. So that's really where this project's located, and we're working within this woodland space right here. So that's the overall scope.
And the police department is just across the street, basically?
No. That is correct. The police department is located right down here.
Yep.
Right. So to answer the next question we heard was, where are there wetlands located on this site? So these are not state jurisdictional wetlands. These are local jurisdiction only. We did do wetland flagging, and there's 2 wetlands that were identified. One just to the north of the Bob Driscoll, I guess the north and the east of the Bob Driscoll rink, which you can see in the lower right. And then in the upper right, there's another small wetland, which is located next to Higgins School. There is some existing drainage that exists already, part of the Higgins School and part of James Street. You can see there's a catch basin up here, and there is some stormwater that's currently being drained through this site. The next plan is the concept. Just, I think Andrew kind of explained this, but the path is intended to come what we're calling sort of a hub as part of what would be this larger connectivity plan that would connect to Emerson Park, allow residents and students and others to walk through this wooded area. We also propose a boardwalk in the upper right here that would cross the wetland and then connect back to the Higgins School. There would also be a secondary trail that would wind up along the slope and connect the ball field. And then it would cross over this main spine, which is this trail right here, with another secondary path that would connect down to Bob Driscoll and the parking area. Again, the intent is try to improve not only connectivity within the park, but for the larger Higgins School or area in the Eco Campus. As part of this project, oh, go ahead.
The shaded blue on your plan there, are those rain gardens or something, or some kind of
Great question. Yes, that's correct. These spaces here are proposed stormwater management. This concept was developed a few months ago as we've advanced the designs. Some of this has changed, but the overall intent is still the same. And I have a more updated plan that was submitted with the package, and I added some color to it that I can share with you as well. I probably should mention that this path is ADA accessible too. That was one of the goals. So it does require some grading and some alterations to have that ADA accessibility work.
Is the path paved?
That's another great question. So the path would be paved. There is a portion, this portion of the secondary path that we were proposing could be stabilized stone dust, but the remainder of the path would be paved. Are there any other questions before I get into a little more detail on the project?
Would there be bicycles using this path? Would there be bicycles using this path as well?
No, the intent is not to have bicycles go through this portion of the pathway. It would be pedestrian only.
And why wouldn't you have bicycles? I mean, will it be signage saying no bicycles?
Yeah, that would be the intent, that we'd have signage and there'd be bollards posted or installed at each one of these entrance points. Just when working through the design, it was decided that there wasn't a desire really to pull bikes through here. It's not intended really to be a bike path. It's more a pedestrian connection through this wooded location, and again to connect both James Street, the ball fields, and the school.
How wide is the walking path?
It's 8 feet. All three, let's see, this secondary trail is 8 feet. The main trail, the main spine is 8 feet. There is a little connection down here, and I think when I get to the other plans, you'll see this in a little more detail. That narrows down to 6 feet, but consistently 8.
So my other question would be, is there a maintenance plan for it?
We submitted an operation and maintenance plan for the stormwater management. I think that may be a good segue to discuss some of the proposed plans for restoration of not only the work within the buffer zones, but also the woodland and along the edge of the proposed path. And there would be a maintenance plan for that work as well.
Okay.
And I just want to point out one other piece to this project that was submitted in the package, although this is outside of the buffer zone. We are also proposing some landscape improvements to the Higgins School and some invasive species management, which you can see in the upper right here, which actually is located in the buffer, because here's your buffer here, and there's one a little further up. You can see it on the next plan. So what I'm presenting right now is the site preparation for the pathway and clearing, and it's the limit of work. This site, if you've been here, it has quite a bit of invasives, has a large knotweed population. It also has bittersweet, multiflora rose, among some others. So part of this project would also be coming up with an invasive species management strategy that would address the earlier question about a maintenance plan, and also a long-term plan to potentially restore much of the woodland. I wouldn't use the word eradicate. I was listening to the earlier discussion about knotweed, and the commissioner who was discussing the challenges with knotweed, he was 100% correct, spot on. I think a better term would be management is what would be the long-term goal here. I think a goal of eradication probably isn't possible, but I think it could be managed in a way that, again, the pathway could be a nice amenity, and then over time, hopefully restore some of this woodland to a healthier forest. The invasive species management strategy would be sort of a three-pronged approach is what we're looking at. There would be a section you could see through the hatching, the different cross hatchings up in the upper right here. We've identified areas for basal cutting, mowing, and we've also looked at this option of doing some square welded wire mesh. And what that does, it allows the knotweed, after it's been cut back, as it grows up, it chokes itself out and cuts itself off at the base of the stem. There's been some success on projects with that approach. The basal cutting and mowing, also that's more of a management approach. It's certainly not going to be eradication. We also would consider direct stem injection. I heard that mentioned earlier, that, and the person who brought that point up is correct. That's really your most effective. The challenge is it's the most labor intensive. We've also had some success with cutting back and the removal of knotweed. And when it in the early spring, when it sprouts, direct foliar spraying, not a broadcast spray, but direct foliar spraying of an herbicide has been fairly effective in knocking the knotweed back. There may be one or two applications required, but that does seem to knock that down. And then we're also just looking at, in the area of the pathway shown here in this squiggly hatch, is over excavating as part of the path installation to remove knotweed that's in the path corridor. So it'd be this sort of three-pronged approach, and that's what we'd be looking for approval on this NOI, is that, and I wouldn't get too hung up on the areas that are designated. This is just sort of a concept, and I think what we'd like to be able to do is leave some flexibility to allow different strategies to be undertaken as part of the long-term maintenance after the path is installed. There's, as I mentioned, there's a much larger, more ambitious plan that would be a future phase, but we wanted to include both of these in the NOI, and that would be looking to expand the invasive species management strategy beyond just the path corridor into the woodland, and that would be a strategy that would be over numerous years, a larger undertaking, and it wouldn't be part of the first phase or the initial scope of this project, or within the initial construction phase. Are there any questions before I get into a little more on the path details?
I have a question.
Sure.
Who is going to manage or maintain the control of the knotweed or any other invasive plants? Is this?
So that's a good question. I think on the first phase, the way we would envision it, and we're still working on the construction drawings and discussing this with the city. It's been our recommendation on projects like this where we have invasive problems, is that we recommend that a 3-year maintenance contract be included in the bid, and the invasive species management provider would be working on the management and control for those first 3 years. Then there would be a turnover to the city, and that's in 3 years is probably the minimum is what we would recommend. But again, we've had some success on projects, and then when you turn it over, our thought is it would be mostly mowing and knocking back to make sure that the knotweed that's beyond the limit of work that's shown on this plan doesn't creep in. That's always the challenge when you're not addressing the entire area of knotweed that you have to deal with, knotweed creeping back in. But the mowing and just weed whacking would at least manage it. It's not going to eradicate it.
Drew, I have a question for you. Is there a budget for this maintenance project or maintenance contract?
So as Brian mentioned, we put it into the bid, but we're waiting on final the cost estimate of it. But again, yeah, we'd want to add it to the bid, and we'd add it to the total project cost. And then beyond the 3 years, we see this operating much like the recreation and open spaces that exist in the city today, with how the Parks and Recreation Department takes care of them.
And do you envision Parks and Recreation getting more money in a budget to maintain all of this plus all the bike paths we're building?
So we've been working with Jen Davis from the beginning on this project. She's been integral as a part of it. So she's very much aware of the project and has been supportive of it as we've been moving forward through it.
Well, I'm in support of it, but I would like to see it be maintained, in perpetuity, so we have trails you can use.
Yeah, and I foresee that happening. The Parks and Rec Department will take care of this much like the other parks and pathways in the city.
Yeah, and I think to that point, I probably should have mentioned when I started my presentation that there has been a pretty healthy review process between both the city agencies. We have been meeting with Lucia as well as Jen from Parks and Rec, city engineers. We've also had a discussion with the police department. So there has been involvement at the town level, and we've also had, Drew, how many public meetings have you had on this?
We've had, I believe, one large public forum, and then we've had a few targeted neighborhood meetings as well with the neighbors in that area. We actually just had one last evening.
Are there any other questions on the site preparation and invasive species issue, and just some of the areas of disturbance that were identified in the NOI we submitted that are actually in the wetland are related to the invasive species management, and you can see in the lower right in the the lower right and the upper left.
How long is the boardwalk? That's made up of it's timber frame, right, with piles, helical piles or something?
That's correct. It would be timber framed with helical, or we've also used another product called diamond piers, and it would be through the wetland. I don't know off the top of my head the total length. I can look that up pretty quickly here for you, I think. Are there any other questions related to the invasive species? The boardwalk is 60, 70. It is about, I'd say 110 feet
Okay.
plus or minus.
Is there gonna be railings the whole way or just on parts of the boardwalk?
It's, if we cannot maintain, if we have to exceed 30 inches of height, then it would need a railing. The intent right now is we're trying to minimize the height of it, so we'd have bumpers.
Which would be a good reason why you wouldn't want bicycles.
Yeah, well, that's another reason, the boardwalk, it becomes a more substantial structure if we include bicycles. So if there aren't any other questions on the invasive species management and just the overall scope of the project, I do have one last plan that again shows a little more detail than that earlier rendering. This is the 75% designed path layout. As I mentioned, we have a main spine that's running, let's see, it's going north, southeast to northwest. We do have the boardwalk connection. We are crossing the wetland. You can see I have the buffer zones highlighted in green. We are proposing as a later phase, and I think I heard some comments again earlier during this knotweed discussion about the challenge of planting when you're dealing with invasive species. It's our recommendation and our approach that we would not plant the trees immediately or any of the additional landscape. We would just seed the disturbed areas, and we have two types of seed mix. What we're proposing, one is what we're calling a clear zone, which is the lighter green, and that would be the mowed strip. And then there would be another seed mix, a little more shade tolerant, because we do have, it is a wooded area, and we're thinking that'd be mowed once monthly for invasive species suppression. There may be some weed whacking involved too. We would give that the 3 years, then there would be a second phase where you could go in and add the additional trees that you see here. The reason why we don't recommend planting, because you want to see how successful your invasive species management is before you start investing money and putting in plants. Again, it's been our experience that if you plant too soon, it makes it much more of a maintenance problem, because now you're dealing with trying to either mow or weed whack around planted material. You run the risk of causing damage to those plants. So our recommendation would be to seed, manage it for 3 years, monitor your progress, and then come back and plant some additional trees as part of what we would call the second phase of the restoration. And then, as I mentioned, that third phase would be expanding beyond this red dashed limit of work that's shown here on this plan, and start to look at potentially doing additional work in the woodland. And on the stormwater side, that question was raised earlier. You can see in a little more detail here, we now have some bioretention / rain garden infiltration basins to capture the stormwater runoff. We are proposing a vegetated swale to run on the inside of the path. So we're pitching the path back into the slope. The reason we're doing that is because we do have some fill areas that we don't want to have runoff running down those slopes. So it's all, I can show you here. So we'd have a swale coming down through this space here. Same on this side, the swale would run along, overflow into this wetland after treatment, matching pre and post. We also have two small little recharge basins or recharge chambers underneath the path. Again, we're trying to limit our footprint, and we're already excavating, so it makes sense to just, there's a cost savings by putting these underneath the path, and we have an additional recharge leaching chamber field in the middle of this path intersection, again, to collect and infiltrate the stormwater runoff. So we are providing treatment through the grass swales and these green stormwater infrastructure practices, and as well as managing the increase in runoff through the underground chambers. I think that covers the overview. Certainly would be happy to answer any questions you may have or any issues that you think you may want us to address when we come before you June 15th. After you've had sufficient time to review the submittal package.
That was a good presentation.
Well, thank you.
Through the chair, I do have a question.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, any progress on the eco campus is welcome progress. I think that this is going to be one of the best projects that the city of Peabody undertakes in the time being, in combination with the new bridge over Route 1. But that being said, when granted that you get a, not to jump the gun or anything, but if you do get the the order of conditions at the next meeting, when do you anticipate starting construction?
Yeah, great question, Travis, and thank you for the kind words. We're also really excited about this project as well. So we were really lucky to be part of the Parkland acquisition and renovation for communities program with the state. And as part of that, it's a reimbursement program, which they will reimburse all construction costs up until June 30th, 2023. So we are looking to move, get this out to bid pretty quickly, and then work on construction phasing. But we hope to have this complete by June 2023.
Awesome, thank you.
Ambitious.
Good.
Anybody else? Do we open this to the public, or
Yeah, you should have. You should.
anybody in the public have any questions? Comments?
Are you sure? I didn't realize this, I thought this was just a presentation.
It is.
It is.
Oh, okay.
I
In
didn't
that
think
case,
we were-
if there's no other questions, I'd make a motion to continue to our next meeting.
I make a motion to continue, right?
Second.
Roll call?
So I have a motion by Secretary Vivaldi to continue until June 15th, seconded by Mr. Comack. Roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right, 7-0, and no one raised their hand, so there is no one here.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was really a good presentation.
See you next month.
all. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you again on June 15th. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10. Public hearing on notice of intent submitted by GZA Geo-Environmental Inc., Dan Nietzsche for Emmanuel and Rose Papanikolaou owners, and JD Raymond Transport Inc., William Boyle applicant. Proposed work is construction of a stormwater infiltration basin partially within a buffer zone to a wetland resource. The property is known as 25 Farm Ave, map 69, lot 006 and 007 in Peabody. I know from talking to Brendan and Lucia, we do have a signature page with Minnie Papanikolaou's, signature on it. So the owner of the property has signed the document, the notice of intent. Brendan, you want to take it away?
Sure. We received the notice of intent for JD.
Before we start, are we not gonna open this tonight? Are we not opening this public hearing tonight?
Are you recommending we don't?
I was under the impression we were not gonna open this to start this because the documents weren't completed.
Okay. I mean,
Through the chair, there is a signature page. You received all the paperwork on time. I think I just promoted GZA to a panelist. They would, so I don't know why you guys, and I know there was a bevy of emails that came in today or yesterday saying that there wasn't a signature, but the application is 100% complete. Brendan, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I received the signature page for the notice of intent. So it's here. I've seen it.
Okay.
If there's anyone else in your team, Steve, you're from GZA, correct?
That's correct.
If there's anyone else in the team that you need me to, okay, someone just raised their hand, Daniel. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm not the acting agent, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut up.
So through the chair, are we making any decisions tonight? Because I just got an email this afternoon. So I really haven't had any chance to review any of it.
well, for the record, as far as I know, and Brendan can certainly talk to this, my understanding from Brendan's memo, he is in the process of looking to send this project out for peer review. Do you have any more comment on that, Brendan?
No, I mean, I'm just going to recommend that it goes out to peer review. I think, I'm not familiar with permitting this type of project, this type of use that they're proposing. It's sort of a complex project. It encompasses 2 separate parcels. It's an after the fact filing, due to the history of the site over the years without a permit. I would recommend to the commission that we go out for peer review, just to make sure that it's reviewed properly, I guess, in the long run. So that's just my recommendation to the commission.
I would recommend the same. Anybody else?
I agree. I concur with that.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to continue till we have a peer review?
So moved.
Second?
But not even a presentation?
I'd second that.
You want a presentation?
A quick summary. We're talking, I don't know, it just seems like it's on the agenda. Why not have a?
Okay.
Well, don't we? Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I haven't looked at any of the things. So.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak? This is Dan Nitchie from GZA.
Mr. Chairman, I would also recommend against a presentation. I think that we're just going to hear this again in a month or so, or whenever the peer review gets back. So I think it would be privy to use our time wisely as opposed to hearing things multiple times.
Okay. So somebody want to make a motion to continue this until after a peer review?
I move to continue.
I would second that motion.
Roll call.
All right, motion to continue until, you guys have to put a date. Are you going to continue this until July 13th, June 15th, September?
I'd say July. Wouldn't you, Brendan?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it does seem to take over a month, by the time we're able to work with GZA, go and find a consultant, make sure everybody agrees on the scope and the cost. Maybe we just make sure we come back in June with, I'm able to say we have a consultant, the applicant agrees to the scope of work and the cost. And, maybe that would be something to come back in June for.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, through the chair, I do just want to say that this application is 100%. I think you guys might be confusing this with 40 Oak Street where they sent in revised plans because, that's what started happening. The email that you got about this was a complaint from an abutter who didn't believe that the application was complete because it was missing a signature page. But the signature page is in my file. Brendan has a copy. I have a copy. DEP doesn't have a copy, but they don't require one. So, but
Oh, they do have a copy.
I believe it's complete. I just don't know where to go from. I don't want to go forward if we're looking for help in a peer review. We should wait until we get that.
agreed. But I just want to clarify, this is 100% complete application. It was missing one page and I have it.
Okay.
All right, because I read a big file that said differently, and that was from an abutter or somebody. Okay.
Correct. That was from an aggrieved abutter, I would imagine. Maybe someone, it looks like Daniel wants to speak.
If I may, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Have we opened the hearing? I mean, don't we have an obligation to open the hearing in 21 days? We haven't
Yes,
even,
you
it
do.
doesn't sound like we opened it. We sound like we just made a motion to continue. And we understood we were going to continue the meeting. So that doesn't alarm us in any way, but is this meeting been opened?
Yes, no one, I just raised a question about opening it, and because I thought that the documents weren't complete. So I was corrected. So in itself, the meeting was opened. So the meeting has been opened.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And as a commission, you're just choosing not to let us provide you a brief presentation. You want to wait until after the peer review. I'm just trying to understand what just happened.
I was looking for a brief presentation, but I got overvoted.
I mean, I'm not looking to upset anybody. I just want to understand what was happening here. I've not been before you guys before, so I'm just making sure that I understand your process.
I personally am looking for help from a peer review or from Brendan to tell us where we're at. I think we should wait, but that's because we're going to hear it twice. You agree?
I just, when I see things dated May 4th, right, which is a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that you're admitting that you just submitted these documents just a week ago, then I don't think we're ready to open it. We don't.
I think that I guess I would defer to Lucia. Didn't we submit this?
No, they did not. They submitted, I think, on the 14th. I think we received the application. I think that is that accurate? I think that's when the city received the application. So we've had them. I'm not sure what is May 4th.
I think May 4th is from the abutter, I'm imagining. The email from Hayes Engineering. I have had everything. I've had a complete file since the deadline for this meeting. But I mean, either you guys are going to hear a presentation because we're wasting time right now. So either you're going to hear a quick presentation. I mean, it might be good so you guys can at least get a lay of the land, give a quick presentation, and then continue it until after the peer review. But I would suggest either doing one or the other.
What say the commission?
Quick
What is your
presentation,
presentation?
quick one.
Okay. Daniel?
All right, thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate that. I know that this is going to be complicated and we're going to have lots of people involved in this. So my name's Dan Nitchie. I'm a senior wetland scientist with GZA, representing JD Raymond. Also tonight, Steve D'Ambrosia, who's the engineer of the project, and he'll just give a quick talk about what he's done for the infiltration basin. Will Boyle, who's representing JD Raymond, in their interest, he's on the line as well, just observing. So the project, there's been a wetland delineation that was done as part of an enforcement action through the DEP on the site through LEC. That was all confirmed. We saw the wetland, we saw some of the flags when we were out there back in 2019, and everything looked reasonable. So we didn't change anything or ask anything to be changed. So we feel that the LEC delineation approved by DEP still makes sense and is reasonable to go forward in terms of buffer zones. Then I'm going to turn this over just to keep this going for you folks. I'll turn it over to Steve so that he can talk about the infiltration basin and the reason that that's being designed. Thank you.
So our approach is was to design 2 infiltration basins. Each is sized for the water quality event, which for this property is a 1-inch storm. We took a very conservative approach in our design in that we looked at the entire drainage area as impervious, and that's how the infiltration basin was designed. So we're looking at the entire area, even though there are significant mulch piles in the drainage watershed, our design looked at those areas as impervious. So we took a very conservative approach, and the plans show a pretty sizable infiltration basin. Infiltration basin 1, the footprint is about a half acre. And infiltration basin number 2, the footprint is a little less than 2/10 of an acre. But that is our approach. So we're treating for water quality. We're not changing really any of the drainage patterns. In the north lobe of the property, we are proposing to raise the grades so that we can pitch the stormwater to these infiltration basins. And we're also proposing a wall, a berm around the majority of the property so that we're capturing the stormwater instead of it leaving in multiple places throughout the property. But that's the gist of our stormwater management design.
For the purpose of what? What is happening? Is this at the 25 Farm Ave?
Correct.
Michael, this is the company this is the parcel of land that has egregiously broken our wetland protection laws for the past 5 years.
Okay.
Through the chair, what are you proposing to, how are you proposing to construct the walls?
They're Jersey barriers that are going to be placed along the property edge. It's one of the shown, I think it's on sheet C3.
On C3.
Can you show a plan, Steve?
I don't know. Oh, I do have the ability to share my screen.
I don't see any.
What's the purpose of the block wall?
It acts as a curb to direct the stormwater into the basins.
If they're just Jersey barriers, they're not gonna block anything. The water's gonna go right through.
I don't know why the sheet is not showing.
I don't see a C3.
I'm looking at a C3 on my computer. I have a C3.
Where is it?
It's in the NOI.
I see that. It's actually in the NOI application?
Yeah, down near the end.
Yeah, towards the very back
Sorry,
of the NOI.
well, I called it it's called a proposed concrete block wall. It's a mafia block that we're embedding into the ground. So it'll sit on 6 inches of compacted gravel base. There'll be some impervious soil boro on the upstream slope. And then this is where we're showing the proposed grade. So it's a 2x2 block embedded a foot, and it'll have a 1 foot reveal.
And is it a masonry unit then? Is it like gonna have mortar or cement between the blocks?
Yes.
How high up above the surface will this block wall go?
It's a 1 foot reveal. So this
Okay.
is the proposed
And-
grade, and this is
And
the
that'll keep the water running towards whatever direction you want it to go.
correct.
And are there any plans to do something about keeping the mulch piles from moving beyond that wall?
Moving
Is-
beyond the wall? Well,
Right now,
it's
the
at the
wind
perimeter.
blows.
Sure.
Right now, the wind blows everywhere.
Well, the wall is being proposed on the perimeter of the current work area.
I don't, excuse me.
Sir.
I do not believe that the walls are going to be 100 feet high like the piles of mulch are. I firmly believe that somebody needs to review this over the course of weeks and maybe even a month so that we can get a consensus on this project.
I mean, I think what there's a real concern by myself and the commission. It sounds like of the mulch debris migrating through the air mostly into the wetland areas or beyond the operations. And there's no any sort of controls or trash debris or controls in place that is going to prevent mulch getting there, still making its way into the wetland area or beyond the operations of the site. So I just off the top, I think we need to go back and look at the plan. After we have it through the peer review, maybe we get a recommendation through that, consultant. But yeah, I think they're looking for some sort of screening that's going to make sure that mulch stays within the perimeter of the site, because it's not happening now. And it's not through surface runoff, migration, it's through wind, air migration, and so I think they're probably going to be, a commission is probably going to be looking for some significant screening around the property, around the perimeter of the property, where your piles are up. You guys are already exceeding. You're already, from what I understand, again, I'm not the fire department, I'm not the building department, but I'm not, it does seem like the piles may be higher than what's allowed. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, whatever the height of those piles, the screening needs to be at that height. So if they're going to pile those things up 80 feet, then you need to find a pole 80 feet high with a big screen mesh like you do at driving ranges for golf courses that are going to go around the entire site.
Brendan, for operational questions, I would defer to Will Boyle. Is he in the audience?
I truly don't think we should go any further.
No,
we don't.
yeah,
have
I don't.
answers
Yeah,
on
I don't.
We
that.
just want to give a brief presentation. I agree.
Simply,
I agree
simply
with Travis on that.
To put it simply, a Jersey barrier is not going to fix the problem. That's as simple as it gets.
Yeah, I've seen enough for tonight.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to continue?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion to continue till June 15.
Right. With most likely be just to get notice that maybe we've gotten a peer reviewer on board.
Correct. Okay.
Most likely, yeah.
The roll call, please.
Yep. So you guys made an earlier motion. It was made by Arthur, seconded by Travis to continue it. So what was this last one? I stepped out of the room for a moment. What
It's still the same. You can hold that. You can still
use it
that way.
Arthur, I do want to say there's someone waving their hand in the audience already. And I also did want to say, Arthur, I stand corrected. You are absolutely correct. There was drawings, I believe, Brian or Daniel, didn't you guys just send revised drawings today? And I sent you an email and said, we don't accept paperwork the day of the meeting. So Author, I am correct. I stand corrected. I just got so many emails today. I believe you are correct. These plans have changed and you guys have not seen them. I was going all crazy about the signature page that was being made an issue, but we do have a signature page. And Dan, and can someone on the team, can you just, Steve or Dan, can you just,
Certainly.
you did send plans today, correct?
Yes, yeah, in
Or
response
at
to
like
DEP
5 o'clock.
comments.
So yeah, so I apologize for stepping in then. I am wrong. We did receive revised plans.
Yeah, it was to address DEP comments, but thank you, Lucia, for identifying that.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call unless you guys are planning to open this to members of the public tonight. You probably want to, so it doesn't become a big deal in the morning. I don't know if through the chair you want to open it to the person who's waving their hand.
I would.
Let's open it to the public.
Well, I would keep it brief since this is going to peer review, but since his hand is waving, I don't want to, you know, ignore him because then someone could like file a complaint against you.
I don't want to spend the next hour listening to the neighbors and so forth tonight.
I am completely on board with
There's so
you.
much unknown about this project still that we're not going to have the answers, and I think people have plenty of time to speak on this at another time.
Can I make a recommendation? If the people in the audience that have a concern, can they send in an email to Lucia listing the concerns and we can review them, and at the same time we're reviewing the plans?
They already did. They said, I believe they sent
did.
them in yesterday.
Yeah,
Oh.
they already did. It's immense. It's immense.
Chair.
And I really I don't want to just,
Okay.
I'm not gonna say I concur, I don't concur, but there's a lot of good information there, and I really don't want to go through all that tonight.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yep.
I do believe that we have the ability to limit comments in the public hearing to 2 minutes. If I am correct about that, I think that we should open it to the public for a maximum of 2 minutes per commenter.
Let me add my 2 cents. If someone wants to say and speak up, what we have before us is not a complete story information of the process. So the public needs to understand that we're in the dark with a lot of this stuff. So you might, want to limit your comments and come back next month and the month after to expand on them. And I would suggest that, but I don't want to vote on the continuance until this person has a chance for briefly 2 minutes or so. But realize that we're not fully informed. Thank you.
So I will open this to the public, to the person waving their hand. Please identify yourself and give us your address.
Good evening, members of the Conservation Commission. Jason Panos, practicing law at 246 Andover Street with Tony Capichetti at Hayes Engineering. Tony, who will talk for 1 minute, prepared a letter that he submitted to the commission on May 10th, 2022, and we would simply ask that you take a vote to accept that correspondence into the record. And then Tony, if you want to add anything, and through the chair, of course.
I'll make a recommendation to accept that letter.
Thank you. So just briefly, Tony Capichetti, Hayes Engineering, 603 Salem Street. That's the gist of what we wanted to get on board tonight, was to have that letter accepted into the record. And, we apologize when we requested the full filing. The only signature was Mr. Nish's on the signature page. There was nothing under the property owner, which would have been a violation, as under a notice of intent, a property owner has to sign off. So that was just based off of the information we were provided. Beyond that, thank you for your time, and we'll be back at the subsequent hearings.
Thank you.
Do we have a second on my recommendation to accept the letter?
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Okay, well, I have to go back to the original of continuing. It was made by Arthur, seconded by Travis. Can I, because you guys, do we want to forget about that and go on back onto this and then close the public or continue it again?
Lucia, can I suggest that we vote on the acceptance of this letter and then right into the continuance?
All right. Technically, the letter wasn't submitted on time, just so I mean, you guys really don't have to accept it tonight. You could have waited and accepted until June. But if you guys read it today, I think you got it yesterday. If you were able to read it, sure.
I
So
read it.
motion
I
to
read it.
accept. Can someone repeat
Read it
that?
today.
The motion to accept was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by,
Arthur.
sorry, you guys, I'm doing a lot of things back here. You don't see me moving, but I'm doing a lot back here. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
No.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik.
This is for the letter, correct?
Yep.
No.
Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right, so it is accepted 5-2 with Amanda and Travis voting no. So now do we have a motion to continue until the June 15th hearing?
That's been made and we want to get a roll call for that.
No,
Yes,
you guys
so
just said
moved.
you were gonna make it again.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
All right, so motion to continue made by Travis, seconded by Arthur. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
and Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right, so it is continued until June 15th, 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation.
All right. Item 11 and 12, I believe. No, item 11 and 12 are Monroe Street and should be continued. We have noticed that it was requested to be continued for those two, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'll read one of them because item 11, continue public hearing and notice of land submitted by Sean O'Neill, applicant. Owner of record is OHC Walnut Place LLC. Proposed work is the construction of a duplex condominium within bordering land subject to flooding. Subject is known as 10 Monroe Street, map 85, lot 2H, Peabody, Mass. Item 11, continued public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by Sean O'Neill, applicant, the owner of land. The owner of record is OHC Walnut Place LLC. The work proposed is the construction of a duplex condominium within bordering wetlands subject to flooding. The property is known as 12 Monroe Street, map 85, lot 2L. Both of these have been requested to be continued. We have a motion to continue, please.
Motion to continue.
Second?
Second.
All right, roll call. Motion made to continue item 11 and 12, 10 Monroe and 12 Monroe Street, both NOIs. Made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Athos. Roll call. Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right, so both are continued until June 7-0.
Item 13, continued public hearing. Well, this was continued until June 15th at a previous hearing, so
Yeah.
I don't have to read this and we don't need a motion.
Okay.
Discussion item 14, 8 Cobb Ave. Man, discussion about minor maintenance work on a property. Is Jack here to discuss it?
If he is, he needs to raise his hand because I can't decipher who he is in the audience. I don't see anyone named Jack. Oh, and no one's raising their hand.
Do we continue this? Or?
It'll just, you don't have to continue it. It's not like, it's not really public. I mean, at this point, I'm just going to try to go out to his property. And the reason why I wanted him on the agenda was because in the past, he said I've given him permission to do things and I didn't. And so I wanted you guys to have your eyes on it. I'm not sure why he keeps saying he's coming and he's not. So I'll just call him next week and just go out there, try to figure it out, and go from there.
If you let me know when you go on there, Lucia, I could probably come along.
Sounds good. I'm sure he'll be excited. I'll try and send him, I'll actually send him an email like right now.
Okay. We have basically one big item left. Enforcement order violation order. There's an enforcement order was issued to Salem Country Club for the following activities: removal of living trees, grinding, grubbing stumps in a buffer zone in close proximity to jurisdictional resource areas, and depositing wood chips in the buffer zones and along local riverfront woods. The address is no 133 Forest Street in Peabody, Mass. We have, I guess we've got a verbal commitment to, I want to get a peer review and also want to get Salem Country Club to come up with a restoration plan. And I need the peer reviewers to review that before we can make a determination. Lucia, you said DeRosa can help us out with the peer review. Lucia?
Sorry, I was multitasking. They are the only person who has gotten back to me that is not, I called in my notes. I tell you guys who I contacted. I contacted LEC. They would like to help, but they have a conflict of interest. Williams and Sprague never got back to me, and Horsley Witten Group, it has no time. And I mean, DeRosa is, I gave you guys the link to their website if you had time to look them up. He's really the only person who's gotten back to me, but you can keep on looking if you want, but you guys are gonna have to give me names.
If we want to use DeRosa, do we need a vote to approve that tonight?
I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
I don't have any issues with DeRosa, but I do ask that we make sure that the team is well versed in the matters before us, so that they have, if not on staff, that they can have the licensed arborists and horticulturists, and that they're, if they don't have that in-house, that we need to have that as part of the team.
I mean, do you guys want to shop around? I also sent you that other name of that that company that does have an arborist. I mean, Michael DeRosa, he's given me presentations at DEP forums before.
Yeah. No, I'm okay. I'm okay with Mike DeRosa. I just don't know if he has a licensed arborist or horticulturist on board.
Lucia, what about that one that I don't know if you remember that I asked you about today that you sent us after the meeting that another conservation agent had suggested. I can't remember their name.
Yep, it was another commission, the chairman. Yep, I sent that email as well with it was a similar issue in Lancaster. The issue with that is I think they are just tree specialists, so they wouldn't be able to do. I feel like DeRosa might be able to give you guys the whole picture, and if they don't have an arborist, I was just going on their website to double check. But I mean, they do wetlands restorations. If you guys get a chance, I mean, we don't have to hire them right now. You guys should check out their website. I was just about to do it. We have other stuff to talk about as well tonight. If you don't want to hire them, like, or make a motion tonight. I mean, I think you might want to make that motion. He said, honestly, he probably wouldn't even be able to look at this until June or July anyway. It's a really busy time of the year.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better. I mean, if we're gonna wait till June to bring this issue up again,
Yeah.
August, September, so I feel comfortable about, moving forward.
Okay.
So we need a motion to approve hiring DeRosa.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Yep. So I have a motion made by, I'm so sorry, I'm like spaced tonight. Was that made by Arthur or seconded by Mike?
The other way around.
Mike Rizzo, seconded by Arthur.
Yes.
All right, that's correct. Sorry, I was just like, I was going on their website to find out if they had an arborist, and I shouldn't have been. So roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
You're muted, Mike.
Secretary
You're
Vivaldi,
muted, Mike.
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Can't hear you, muted.
Travis, you are muted.
I am abstaining from this vote. I was not here for the conversation.
Okay.
and Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right, so it passes 6-1 with Travis not voting due to you weren't at the March or the April hearing, correct?
Yes, I wasn't at that, and I just also was not in the room to hear the discussion either.
Okay, got it.
Lucia, could I just jump in real quick? Could you add Barry Fogel and Peter Fischel as onto the screen as well? If they're in,
I would
I'm
add
assuming-
Barry Vogel if I can find him. I've been trying to add Peter Fischel. Okay, he just accepted my request, but I don't see, I see a number with the last 3281 and everyone else is named and none of them are named Barry Fogel. So you need to give me a little bit more. I don't see him on here.
Sure.
Is he with Kevin McIntyre?
Oh, he might be.
All right, I'll promote them then. They have to accept the promotion though. So.
Peter's name is as part of the panelist right now.
Yep, I've tried to promote. Oh,
Yeah,
there's Barry Fogel.
I just talked to Barry and he has problems signing in. He should be on shortly.
Oh, there's Barry. Thank you, Lucia. I appreciate it.
There's Barry.
Okay. I guess we're here to discuss the enforcement order. And I've got a small chronology of events that took place that I wanted to read into the record. On January 10, Lucia received an email from Devin Batchelder of Weston and Sampson stating that trees would be removed per existing order of conditions 55896 near holes 6 and 7, starting on January 12. 20 trees were allowed to be removed under this order. On January 15, Lucia received complaints from city officials via text asking if the club had permission to remove trees. Staff assumed the club was in compliance and conducting work under 55896. Also on January 10, Lucia received another email from Devin Batchelder from Weston and Sampson stating the trees for the existing order were holes 6 and 7 would be removed starting 112 and 20 trees were allowed. Now, I was at the site with Lucia when we did a site visit and saw the trees in the hole, the 2 holes 6 and 7, and we saw dead trees that needed to be taken out and all kinds of things, and it was just 20 trees. On January 15, Lucia received complaints from city officials via text asking if the club had permission to remove trees, and we assumed that they were doing work under the existing order until January 24th, and Lucia received anonymous complaints that tree removal was not limited to holes 6 and 7. The complaint stated that there was a bank jurisdictional pond that was also altered. Vegetation was removed. It was replaced with sod. January 27th, Lucia was again on site with members of the club, Bill Rocco and Mel Higgins of Weston and Sampson. A verbal cease and desist was issued on January 27th because of the amount of trees that were taken out. Also on January 27, the Boston Globe published an article, and I'm quoting this directly out of the article. The bunkers were the biggest part of the project, said McIntyre, and a lot of other areas received attention too. We had drainage work done on holes number 1 and 18 fairways, and we returned some fairways to the original form and were able to recapture some of the historic position options that have been lost over the years. Course Superintendent Bill Rocco lauded the work conducted by Iverson and construction crew from Top Golf. Eric did an excellent job in all respects, said Rocco. He and his staff were most respectful of the property, diligent, measured, and had done their homework before arriving at site. He understands Donald Ross and made it clear that he hoped his work would help Salem Country Club return to the top 100 list. Iverson noted the project was a smooth collaboration with membership. Now, this was on January 27th Globe article, which means that the author met with the country club before the 27th. It was a pleasure to work with a membership that owns such a love for their golf course, Iverson said from his home outside of Denver. We looked upon our work as part of an ongoing restoration process to the design from tee to green that Donald Ross originated. Our job is to identify details and improve overall restoration initiative, whatever would make the golf experience better. And I highlighted this, including some negligible tree clearing work to improve sight lines and provide more sun, light, and air. Nothing in the article was mentioned to Lucia when she was there on the 27th. And we issued a violation order, and the club appeared at the March 23 hearing. March 28, members of the commission did a site visit. There was a follow-up on April 25th, and it's like, what you guys did was terrible. because we gave you permission to take down 20 trees and you took down hundreds. And you've admitted as much in discussions since then. Besides a fine, which you guys deserve, I'm looking for a restoration plan, and I'm looking for monthly updates on the restoration for 2 years in writing, and I'm looking for site visits every 3 months to see how your restoration is proceeding. We did a wetland, you guys provided a wetland delineation, I believe, on our last visit on Monday, April 25th, correct? And it's like, this is like backwards. We should have done the wetland delineation before and seen where the trees were. My understanding is that there was a number of trees, like 20, that came out of wetlands directly. Is anybody
correct?
Huh?
That is correct.
Yes.
And you guys are experts in growing grass and trees. Come on, people. You're on a golf course. More specifically, before trees can be taken down, there should be a request made to the Conservation Commission to do the work, and there are forms to fill out. And Mayor Tree should have known this. This is an ongoing, it's just the way we do business. You want to take out a bunch of trees, tell us. And then nothing was told to us. So I'm looking for the restoration plan, and we will be hiring this company to do a peer review, make sure we've covered all the bases. Anybody have any comments?
I have something.
Go ahead.
Is Mayor Tree in the audience tonight? You know, anybody?
I don't see it listed. I don't see them listed.
Yeah. There needs to be an enforcement order on Mayor Tree. And then I also want to know what happened to all the lumber. Presume it was sold. I want to see the contract between Mayor Tree and SCC.
Is that is getting a copy of the contract a big problem? I guess I have to address this to Barry.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we provided some information about the arrangements with Mayor Tree previously in response to a request that you made through Lucia. The club doesn't believe that that contract is germane to any of the issues that are required to be addressed in your enforcement order.
Okay, so then we'll be putting an enforcement order on Mayor Tree, and then because I have questions specific to what happened to the lumber. I want to know if it was sold, so that doesn't apply to Salem Country Club. So we'll just put an enforcement order on Mayor Tree, and we'll go after that information.
It's something you'd have to decide, Mr. Chairman. It's not germane to, I mean, they were not responsible for the compliance with your ordinance. That's the Salem Country Club's responsibility. Well, we are prepared to address your enforcement order. I don't know if you were asking for comments from members of the commission, but I'll wait till you're done with that. And then we do have a summary we wanted to give you of where we are in the preparation of a restoration plan.
So are you saying that you're taking responsibility for, you want to leave Mayor Tree out of it, and you're taking responsibility for whatever happened to the lumber, if it was sold or not, or
Well, what happened to the lumber or whether it was sold is irrelevant to the question of compliance with the ordinance, but the club has made clear at the
I
first.
think it's relevant in terms of if there was profit made from it, that's a violation.
Yeah,
1690.
that's actually not germane to that issue, I don't think. But yes, the
I think
first
the part-
public,
I think the part pertaining to who took the trees down, I'd be interested to find out why he was in the wetland, taking trees down in the wetland.
yeah,
He's an experienced tree expert.
But
Who
not
knows-
a forester.
who should know the difference between where he is generally, whether he's in a wetland or question if he's close to a wetland, or is this buffer zone or not buffer zone. These are simple terms that a tree manager would know, and should know whose property he's on and where he is on that property relative to the environment.
well, work was done in the winter, and it was done at the request of the Salem Country Club. They have, as Mr. Fischel said during the first public hearing on this matter several months ago, the Salem Country Club is taking full responsibility for any violation of your ordinance.
Okay.
Now,
So I'd like to say one thing relative, we're gonna continue this discussion in any way, and you said you want to speak about where you might be on how we're gonna resolve this. I just want to make it a point that the restoration plan, whatever it might be, will include replacing of trees, understory with native species, and promote the natural look. I want to make that very clear.
well, that's something we want to speak to tonight because that's actually an issue for the club that we need to address. So
Well,
when
it's
you're ready,
definitely- if it's not what I just said, it's definitely an issue to me.
well, let me, if Mr. Chairman, unless you have other members that want to speak, we're prepared to share a screen and walk you through the items that the club has determined it's preparing to propose in a plan. Is that how you want to proceed now? All right, let me, if I can, share a screen. Is that up? Is that now visible?
There's a screen with a plan.
Good. You can see in there a document on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So after reviewing the enforcement order and talking through some of the options available, this is the steps that the club is proposing conceptually at this time. So they recognize one piece of background again, and we've said this previously, but the belief was at the time that this work was being designed was that all of that work to rebuild the bunkers, cut trees to create air and light, and that work was all believed to be and intended to be in parts of the course that were previously maintained. And none of that was expected to occur in any resource area. It is recognized, obviously, now that even in maintained parts of the golf course that prior review by the commission should have been requested because it happens to be areas that, based on the delineation that's been done, there are buffer zones. But it was believed that because no work was being proposed in any vegetated wetland, as was the case with this work at 6 and 7, that this work could proceed like other normal maintenance on the course. But obviously,
How can you say that?
I'm saying that
How
that
can you
was,
make that statement?
I don't want to hear from this person right now. I want to continue commenting on this because this is just going to be more and more lies. You've told us nothing but lies for years. We got lies when we asked about the Salem Open, the
Who
US
is that
Open.
speaking, Mr. Chairman? I can't see who that is.
It is Commissioner Wojcik.
Okay, thank you.
We got nothing but lies, and then you feed us more lies about how this contract is not germane. I do believe that if you are authorizing work to be done in buffer zones, to be done in wetlands, getting that contract is 100% germane to us. It is important to know why you authorized it and why it was okay and what was going on. Do you understand that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll respond, Mr. Chairman, when you're ready.
Let me just, the fact, whether or not it's in a maintained area where you cut the grass, it doesn't matter. If it's buffer zone, it doesn't matter. Just like any other person who's building an addition on their house, their whole house is has a lawn, but there's a buffer zone. They come to us for a permit because even though their yard is green grass, they still need a permit to put an addition on their house or even a small pool. So don't tell us that none of this is germane.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
I have a problem just with holes. The first two, 6 and 7, there was wetland replication. You guys showed us you're going to remove an area of vegetation that was, obviously wetland plants, and you were going to replicate it. And we said, fine. No one said fine to anything you guys did beyond that.
And no one is disputing that.
Well, but the problem is that you're making statements that they make you sound good. You're
Mr.
not.
Chairman, I'm speaking on behalf of the Salem Country Club, and what they've indicated is that because this work that was performed was being performed in parts of the golf course and intended to be performed in parts of the golf course that were maintained, they mistakenly believed that they could proceed with that work without making a filing as they did for the work at 6 and 7. They were wrong.
Can you
about
stop trying to justify
I am
the work
going to
that you
continue
did?
to speak,
You don't
Mr.
need
Wojcik.
to justify it. It's already been done, and you're already in huge trouble for this.
Mr. Wojcik, I appreciate your view on that, but Mr. Chairman, I'm going to say it again. That's the position of the golf course, is that the reason this work was done without a prior filing was because they believed at the time that because it was in maintained parts of the course, that it could be performed without a filing. They have become much more aware, obviously, through this process of the extent of your buffer zone going to 200 feet from those brooks on the course.
Did they not learn anything after the last time they came before us for an enforcement order? Because clearly it seems as though they did not.
This is not the first time. This is not the first time the Salem Country Club has been to us in this manner. They took down all kinds of trees when they were doing their practice fairway. All kinds of trees came down that weren't supposed to come down. They knew. They learned then.
That was not as I understand it, that was not a previously maintained portion of the course.
It doesn't.
You're arguing points that
I'm not
don't
trying
matter.
to.
The
I'm not
fact that
trying.
it is maintained does not matter. You
We
need
know that.
permits to take down trees in wetlands.
No kidding. We know that. That has been.
Clearly you don't.
No, actually, Mr. Wojcik, that's the reason we're here. We understand that.
Because you got caught.
No, because that has been identified through the violation order. It was determined that these areas are.
Because you got caught.
Hey, I'm not going to argue about that question. We're here to respond to the enforcement order. I'm explaining something that was made clear at an earlier hearing, which is the question that was asked by other members of the commission was, how did this happen? And the course has indicated to me and has indicated to the commission previously that the reason this work was directed.
I don't believe your words. I would
Can I
like to
finish
see
my
the
statement,
contract.
Mr. Wojcik?
That will explain how this happened. The
I'll
contract
explain
will
what
explain. Do not speak over me.
You just cut me off.
I am on the commission.
When I'm done.
You are here because of an enforcement order.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, I would appreciate being able to finish my remarks before Mr. Wojcik interrupts.
do not, okay, Barry, do not say that you guys cut down trees in areas that were maintained. That just inflames everything. You guys,
That was the intent of this work.
well, the intent was wrong. And repeating that is not a good idea.
Well,
My-
not stating that, Mr. Chairman, would be not explaining to you what was in the mind of the golf course when they proceeded with this work.
It's ridiculous.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Yes.
Fischel, do you want to confirm that that's how you?
Mr. Chairman, before anybody on the applicant, on the enforcement, on the violator side of things continues speaking, may I make one or two sentences?
Go ahead.
I do not care what you say because you have been before us so many times for violation orders that are in direct correlation to this same violation in the sense of cutting down trees. The second thing I want to say is that the only way we will truly know what was done and why it was done is if we see that contract.
Okay. I guess the question in my mind besides all this is, and we do want to hear about your restoration plan, but when Mayor Tree was on site, who told them what to cut? Who from the country club was there saying, cut here, cut here? And there were trees left that we saw with targets on them.
Bill, is that you? Can you answer that? Bill Rocco,
Yes,
can you speak to that question?
that would be me and the architect.
So you guys were out there just taking down trees. Despite where the architect would know where the wetlands were and where the buffer zones are, and it didn't matter.
Mr. Chairman, they did not know where the wetlands were and the buffer zones were. Delineation had not been done.
Well, obviously they did.
Mr. Chairman, I firmly do not believe that they could not identify a wet land. It is literally a portion of land that is wet.
Well,
If you
I'm not-
cannot identify that as a landscape architect, I do not believe that you should be a landscape architect.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
the country club actually did have a feasibility study done. Someone did share that with me, and they know exactly where the wetlands are. And it's super easy. Like anyone who's a layman can go on the city's website and just mess around with GIS for a little bit. And they can definitely pop up where the wetlands are. But I do believe, and I believe DEP would also concur with my statement. You should issue an enforcement order to Mayor Tree, absolutely 100%. I don't agree with what Attorney Fogel says, no disrespect, Attorney Fogel. But I think that we wouldn't be in this situation. While we're sitting here, I jotted down a few names of tree companies that I get calls and emails from on the regular. I'm not going to say their names, but it's a handful of them that I literally get calls on the regular for, as someone just said, a house in the middle of a grass, in the middle of a backyard that's on the cusp of a wetlands, and they have to get approval. So had Mayor Tree called me, I would have went out to the site. I would have been like, oh yeah, you definitely need a determination, and we wouldn't be in this pickle right now. So I 100% think that you guys need to issue an enforcement order tonight. And it sounds like Travis and Amanda both want the invoice. And I do think it is all relevant. I don't know why they're trying to hide it. I mean, they can redact information that they don't want us to see, like, fees or whatever. But we should be able to see it for the most part. I don't understand what the issue is.
So through the chair, I'm looking at pictures of like giant stacks of lumber. And that stuff went somewhere and it got sold somewhere. And I want Mayor Tree's ledger because the hardwood got sold for chips and made into pellets and the softwood got ground for mulch. That I can guarantee he made a profit off of. And if you take trees out of the wetlands and you make profit from it, as far as I have heard, that is illegal.
I like to make that motion of issuing an enforcement order to Maya Tree. I like to make
Yes.
that and get that off the table and just make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
All
Roll
right,
call.
so a motion for an enforcement order. I'm assuming the action item would be the invoice for Mayor Tree as redacted as necessary. And then you would like them to also come to the June hearing, I would assume. Any other action items?
Well, what the process was for determining which trees were going to be cut, and that is what orders did he receive from Salem Country Club?
All right, so would you want that in writing, or maybe we can just ask him at the next meeting?
Yeah, we can just ask him.
So June 15th meeting, as well as all invoices redacted as necessary. So that motion was made, and you guys can obviously, like, if you think of something, you can let me know if you want the action item changed. I can change it. So that motion was made by Arthur, seconded by Travis. Roll call. Again, this is for an enforcement order to Mayor Tree. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wojcik.
Yes.
So that motion passed 7-0. I will draft that next week and get it out to Mayor Tree soon.
And before we get on to other subject, I just want to, what I had asked before about the trees that were under the so-called care and maintenance of the club. They were identified with being within the wetlands jurisdiction, but they were taking care of them somehow. And how really egregious it is for a tree that's under your care and maintenance to no longer be under your care and maintenance by simply cutting them and removing them. So they're no longer under your care and maintenance. So in my view, going that extra step of knowing that trees were under your care and maintenance and therefore, and then cutting them down is unexcusable. It's even worse than, perhaps not knowing they were in the wetlands. If you knew they were in your care and maintenance and you went and cut them down, you really violated any decent thing by doing that. And also, when at the very first meeting, when we were going over the trees that were removed in the maps and we're looking at the tees and the greens and everything, I specifically asked, was this work done because you were redesigning your course in any way? And I remember the answer was no. They were not redesigning their golf course, and they weren't redesigning the tees or the greens. So I would like to, see if that's still your position, that you did not change anything from 2022. It's the same exact course as 2021. Thank you.
I guess we're gonna go back to Attorney Fogel and listen to his restoration plan.
Okay. So this is what the Salem Country Club is proposing to develop as a plan. For plants that were cut in, as it turns out, in BVW and on the bank of the pond, the bank of the pond near the second tee, which is in the delineation plan that you received, that's top of bank G. On the partial delineation, the proposal would be to remove the sod from that bank and replant that slope with native shrubs. And for example, what Bill Rocco has in mind is some barren strawberry and low bush blueberry, but to take out all the sod that was put on that slope of the bank of the irrigation pond near the second tee and to replant that area with native shrubs. So that would be the first item.
Were there any trees cut down when that process was done?
Bill, you would be able to speak to that.
No,
There's no trees on that side.
It was
on that bank, no.
or shrubs there.
It was all shrubs.
It was all shrub. It was the same as the other side. Okay, go on B.
So B on that part, as it turns out, there was, as we've come to find, that there were 12 trees cut just inside the boundary of the BDW that's designated as D, as in dog, on the 8th hole. And consistent with the replacement of trees cut in the 6 and 7 area, where the commission required 2 to 1, the course is proposing to plant 24 trees on the golf course for restoration for those 12 trees that were cut in BVW.
Are those 24 trees going to be in the exact location of the trees that were cut?
No, they would not be put in the BVW. They'll be placed elsewhere on the course, like the 40 trees that are being replanted on the course as mitigation for the trees being cut near 6 and 7.
Well, why wouldn't you put them back where they were?
Because that is counterproductive to the objective of the intention was to create air and light, and it would be, I mean, I don't know whether that's an area, Bill, that you want to replant, but I think the idea was to find another spot on the course. I don't know if
Through the chair.
If you replace 1 for 1 where they were cut in that same area, you're replacing them and recognizing that they shouldn't have been cut in the first place. So right now you're saying you're going to be rewarded for bad behavior, and you're trying to sell that as, well, we'll put 2 trees for every 1 we cut for our bad behavior. We'll put them someplace else on the golf course. That's fine. You can continue. That's okay.
No, I mean, this is a concept that's for discussion with the commission. So the idea was building off of the concept from 6 and 7. This was the idea, but if 1-to-1 replacement in that same spot is something the commission wants, the course will review that with an arborist and look into that option.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I do not agree with 1-to-1. I believe that 2-to-1 is the only way to move forward on this. I also do not agree with allowing the country club to select where they place the trees. It should be in the place of the offense, because that is where the most value to the ecological system, the wetlands, and also the habitat is. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yep.
Well, number one, I find this a little strange that the attorney is going over the restoration plan. They should have hired somebody to go, some professional to handle this. And then, was there only that one pond? Because I took a picture of a giant tree trunk on the edge of that pond where they had sodded over. And they said there was no trees there. So I just was wondering. I only remember being at that one pond.
Let me, to put this in some sort of time perspective, I would let Attorney Fogel go through the entire plan and make it understood that this is their initial proposal. And we would have a peer review of all these things and come up with what needs to be done, you know, like I see, I'm looking at this thing, it says there's 35 stump holes, fill with soil and add sod. I'm saying maybe we put in 35 trees. Same thing, 23 large stumps. I'm not in favor of, well, I should say this, I'm in favor of replacing the trees. And some of these trees admittedly are not in jurisdictional areas, but the country club needs to step up and take care of the problem they created for the community. And they have to be responsible to replacing these trees, not someplace on a golf course, because it's not the same. But I would say finish the presentation and let the peer review it and come back with recommendations. This isn't going to happen overnight anyway.
Yeah, so just to recap that, Mr. Chairman. So the enforcement order asked for at tonight's meeting for a date to be set for the submittal of a restoration plan.
Okay.
This is not the plan. This is the concepts that I didn't develop. In consultation with the wetlands consultants and the folks from Salem Country Club and the arborists that they've spoken with, these are the concepts that Salem Country Club is proposing. I'm not the Salem Country Club. I'm an attorney representing the Salem Country Club.
Well, I understand. And I think that,
Yeah.
It's like the first step. Let's hear what the concept is.
Appreciate your comment on that, because that's the intent here.
Yeah, I mean, I would like this information sent to us, and we would provide it to the company we're hiring for a peer review, and let them come back and do the site visits and all the measurements and everything that should have been done ahead of time, and come back with a recommendation. I don't think we're expert enough to say, what should be done tonight.
So just to recap, when we talked about the bank of the pond near the second tee to be replanted with shrubs, the BVW 12 trees cut, the concept that we were presenting tonight was to double that and plant those trees on the course. We've heard someone comment, a member or two, that you want the course to consider planting trees in the BVW, replanting trees in the BVW. They will go back and look at that as part of a plan to be submitted. As far as the work in the buffer zones, the course is proposing to remove the wood chips from all buffer zone areas where where the limbs were chipped and where chips are in the buffer zone. So that's a complete removal of those wood chips from buffer zone areas. Another item would be, there are 4 areas on the course that were identified as having been disturbed, and you saw those with the erosion controls during the site visit. That one area is near the 18th tee, one other area is near the 14th tee, another area is near the 13th green, and the 4th area is near the 3rd fairway. Those areas have been left presently disturbed based on your cease and desist. And so the plan would be, as soon as you're prepared to give approval for this, they would grade those areas and hydroseed it so that it's stabilized and regrows. The area near the first tee, if you recall, there's a cart path that comes between a slope beneath the clubhouse and then down below the cart path. That area would be replanted with native shrubs and ornamental trees. And then in the buffer zones, there are 35 stump holes where stumps were ground. The idea would be to fill those with soil and add sod so that they're stable and not a safety problem, frankly. And then there are still 23 large stumps in the buffer zone that would be similarly ground, and then soil would be added and graded, and that would be hydroseeded as well. So basically the entire area of buffer zone that was disturbed in those identified areas would be restored in this way. So those are the concepts for the work in the buffer zone. Now here comes a very important point that clearly is not going to make the commission happy, but this is the Salem Country Club's perspective on this. At present, they are not proposing to replant trees for the trees that were cut in the buffer zone. The objective for removing those trees and trees outside of the buffer zone was to reduce the trees in areas of the course near certain tees, greens, and fairways in order to improve circulation of air and sunlight in those areas. And that was intended to promote better natural growth and reduce the need for supplemental treatment of those areas with fertilizer and pesticides. So the concept of replanting a large number of new trees on the course in those same locations would be in direct conflict with the goals of the project. And so it just, I think it was member Athos who just asked the question, you know, was this to redesign the course? This was not to redesign the course. It was to open up areas of the course that had grown in and was where trees were creating difficulty for air circulation and sunlight and causing problems with the course itself and creating the need for other manipulation in order to get those areas to be in golf course condition. And so there just isn't the capacity for the course to basically reverse the proposal, the work. And while they recognize that, you know, had this, I think it was stated at a prior meeting that had a prior filing been made, that this work probably would have been approved without the need for replanting. And it seems that the call, if you will, for replanting trees is being viewed as sort of a penalty, but that's not something that the club is proposing to do as part of this restoration plan.
Through the chair.
What?
It
Go ahead,
just,
Drew.
I am at a loss as to why Attorney Fogel is simulating what the commission would have voted, how we would have voted.
Well, I think that if the commission, if they had come before the commission and they did in one instance for 20 trees, we gave
which
them,
we asked them to replant trees.
well, we gave them permission to take down 20 trees, and they had to restore vegetated wetlands, and they had to clean out areas that were in the buffer zone. I think the same actions would have been taken in the sense that if they wanted to cut trees down to improve sight lines, air, sun, whatever, we would have suggested things like pruning. I don't think you want to take down old trees just to take them down. That's not, but that's all, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. They didn't come before us. I don't know that we would agree with what Attorney Fogel is saying. And we certainly have the option to change the plan, but I want to
Yes.
hear the plan first.
On, if I may say one other thing, it does not appear to me as though the commission is in opposition to the country club's goals. It appears as though the country club's goals are in opposition to our local ordinances.
Okay. Again, I'm trying to move the meeting ahead, and I agree that they definitely did not ask permission. And coming before us with a plan to restore what they destroyed has got to look like they're restoring it, not just planting it elsewhere or coming up with what looks like an appeasement. But I'm not going to say what they should do until we hear from the peer review. Because I'm
If I
not an
could,
expert.
Mr. Chairman, one other, so the way the course has evaluated this, looking at your local ordinance in particular, your presumed no disturb zone, the analysis that the course has done would be that if, let's say, a request for determination of applicability had been filed or a notice of intent, that evidence would have been presented to demonstrate that these trees could be cut in these areas of the buffer zone. We're not talking about the 12 trees in BVW near 8 or the bank of the pond, setting those aside, recognizing those are different issues. But in the buffer zone, and in particular in the 200-foot buffer to these streams that run through the course, that a presentation would have been made that those trees could be cut without adverse effect to the interests that are listed in your presumed no disturb. And if the commission had asked for mitigation in some form for the work being done, let's hypothetically, I'm speaking obviously, the course would not have proposed to replace the trees on the course. You know, Mr. Fischel can speak to that. He's the chief operating officer. The function, the objective of this project was to open up air circulation and sunlight, and pruning of trees was not going to be sufficient. The plan would have been, if we were sitting here now talking about either a notice of intent or an RDA, we would be talking about why the trees being cut are actually beneficial in terms of reducing the need for supplemental treatment with fertilizers and pesticides for these greens and fairways. These were targeted areas because specific parts of the course, in particular greens and tees, were being shaded and didn't have air circulation, and it was difficult for them to maintain them without additives. And so if the course had said, if the commission had said, we would want some mitigation, it may well have been, for example, I saw a comment from you, Chairman Lazarus, about the city's preservation fund. You know, the course would have looked for a way to make a contribution to that fund in order for other wetland protection or restoration projects to take place. But I am communicating to you that the course has indicated that they cannot agree, and that's why they're not proposing to replace trees on the course in significant numbers beyond what's being requested for the work at 6 and 7, because it's contrary to what was being achieved by this project.
Through the chair.
Yep.
It seems that the restoration plan that the golf course is presenting isn't really a restoration, that their definition of restoration is to clean up their mess as much as possible, because a lot of these things they have to clean up, but they're putting under the umbrella, they're doing us a favor as a restoration. I don't think cleaning up stumps that they cut is a restoration, okay? And going back to this idea of like, oh, we can't replace the trees because that's contrary to our purpose of cutting them down in the first place. Well, that's the golf course opinion. That's your opinion. That's not the city of Peabody's opinion or the conservation's opinion that we wanted you to have such wonderful soil. You didn't need to have fertilizer. So I think we're getting beyond the point of making any headway here, because we're going to be going through this. Now, was this the entire restoration plan that you guys are presenting? The 3 pages here?
These are the concepts that are presently presented, yes.
All right, so they don't add up, the trees don't add up to the numbers at all, but okay. We're gonna, have to wait for the consultant, the peer review to come away with this. But I, as a member of this commission, am not gonna accept that Salem Country Club is going to more or less get their way, even though they know they did things wrong and they violated and they're gonna try to restore things. They're gonna get their way by not having these trees that were cut down somehow replanted in the same exact spots. So that's their mistake, and I'm not gonna, overlook and try to make it easier for them. Thank you.
If I could, I just want to say that all the work that you did do in the buffer zone and in the resource area, some of the words that you mentioned tonight, is the presumption. The presumption that you don't want to put those trees back because you need them to, for whatever purpose you said you needed to take them down. The presumption that each and every one of those trees that were in the buffer zone or the resource area are relevant to the act and protected under the Wetlands Protection Act and our local bylaw. The presumption is they all are included and all have a place where they are. You don't get a choice to take those down. You don't get the choice to decide what trees come down and which don't come down. It was what boils me more than anything when we saw that report and you got your enforcement order, that all the work you'd said, all the work you did, you said because you believed that those were maintained areas. As far as I'm concerned, all you did was plead the fifth. That's what you did in that whole report. It's the presumption is they're all important, and you don't make that choice, and you should know that.
As I've indicated, the course recognizes that. The issue is in terms of mitigation. Under your no disturb, presumed no disturb.
This is not mitigation, this is restoration.
No, I'm saying, and what I was saying, if I may, is that the enforcement order was written in terms of a restoration plan. If this were being presented to the commission as an RDA and a demonstration was made that those trees could be cut without adverse effect on the capacity of those buffer zones to provide the interests that are identified in the ordinance, then it would have been within the commission's discretion to ask for mitigation in some fashion if they wanted, but I would respectfully suggest that it would be beyond the authority of the commission to direct the applicant, in this case, the club, to replace those trees on the course.
Not an applicant either, violator.
You made your point.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate, this is their third time with an enforcement order. So it sounds like they're doing what they kind of did the other two times. They did what they wanted, and then you guys said, okay, that's fine, we agree with you, and you kind of let them do their thing. And now, I mean, he keeps saying, if we filed an NOI, if we filed an RDA, and I 100% agree. If you filed an NOI, if you filed an RDA, I think we all agree, we probably would have definitely let you do mostly all of this work, but you didn't. So now we're here, and now the Concom gets to decide what you're going to do. But before we go on to other things, I've been waiting really long time to ask this question. Was there always drainage from these bunkers? Because in that newspaper article in the Salem Evening News dated 1/27/22, it says that you changed all the drainage to all these bunkers. So my question is, where's that drainage going? I'm assuming it's going to wetlands. And if that's the case, this is a much bigger violation because you're draining water that wasn't draining to wetlands before. So I think we need to also figure out what happened on these bunkers underground.
Also, I just need to say, if you'd come to us earlier, first, before all this happened, there probably would have been opportunities that trees may have been able to be removed. But me personally, I would have been thinking more about, how about maintaining the trees, maybe trimming some of the trees, limbing some of the trees, trying to open up a certain part of the tree, not necessarily taking the trees all down. There's a difference between removing trees and managing trees. And we weren't given the opportunity to be part of that decision.
All right, I guess what we're hearing is the country club is telling us what they are gonna do, and they're not asking us what we'd like them to do. And there's a difference.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, no, that's not true. We recognize, we don't expect that the commission is going to be shy about indicating what you would like. I think that what we intended to communicate, what the club wanted me to communicate tonight is they are not prepared to plant large numbers of trees, replant large numbers of trees on the course. That's just the one thing they can't agree to. Mitigation in some form on another property or a contribution. Like, I think you made the comment that the fines would need to go, if there were fines, would need to go to the preservation fund. Those kinds of things are recognized as reasonable mitigation, but it's not my decision. I'm just communicating to you, and Mr. Fischel can confirm it. Mr. Rocco can confirm it, but they can't agree and would not agree to planting large numbers of trees on the course.
I mean, we're not opposed to planting trees. We got these two properties known as Landers Field across number 9, and we got that other area back there with Lot S. We're more than happy to plant whatever trees we cut down and whatever, and plant trees over there. We're just trying to avoid to put trees back on the golf course, because we cut those trees with trying to create a better golf course. And if we put the trees exactly back where they were, we didn't achieve anything. And like I said in the first meeting, we made a mistake, and I'm terribly sorry, and we want to make it right. So.
Well,
Mr. Chairman,
yep.
I'll let you speak if you're going to.
No, go ahead.
I think that when one of the largest landowners in the city of Peabody is is a repeat violator, that sets a terrible precedent, and to be frank, makes a mockery of this commission. I think that if the country club didn't want to replant trees in the buffer zone, they shouldn't have cut down trees in the buffer zone. I think that the country club needs to grapple with the fact that they are going to have to restore this, not mitigate it.
I don't disagree. But at the same time, the trees are gone. And it'll take, we have to do what we can to get the trees replanted in areas that we feel are important to replant. I don't want to plant them in another state. It doesn't make sense. They should go on the golf course in areas that trees were before. Filling in stump holes and putting in grass is not helping the trees. But I would defer this discussion to after we see what the peer review brings out, and hopefully there's a better solution that comes out of this for everybody.
Have you begun the process for engaging a peer reviewer?
We have just tonight we voted to approve the company that will do the peer review. We will be contacting them in the next couple of weeks to determine the scope and cost and everything, and get back to you with the cost.
And Lucia, can we also do an enforcement order on Mayor Tree?
You guys already did.
We already did.
Okay. It's been a long night.
No, it's like, there's a lot of things going on. I was gonna say, and I didn't, but I want to thank the Salem Country Club for making my first year as chairman very exciting. Nice job. This is not the first time that you guys have done the wrong thing. And I don't know how to learn you or teach you what the law says. You're a lawyer.
Mr. Chairman, I was not involved in this until I was engaged when they got the violation notice. So I just want the record to be clear. They were not getting legal advice from me before any of this work was done.
Okay.
We did not hire Mr. Vogel. We didn't talk to Mr. Vogel then until we got the cease and desist order. So Mr. Vogel was not involved in the project at all. He's just representing us after the fact.
But you did hire a landscape professional whose specialty is golf courses. And as a
We hired a
landscape
golf course
architect,
architect, yes.
yes, as a golf course landscape architect, they know what the rules are, and they know what the presumption of those areas, that they are important to the interest of the act. And you can't do any of that work without a permit. They know that. And if they worked in Massachusetts before, Massachusetts has some of the toughest environmental laws in this country. That's all I want to say tonight.
Is there anything else that anybody wants to say or cover at this point?
Is this open to the public? Are there people in the public who wants to speak?
Okay. Anybody out there want to speak? Now's your chance. Nobody
Lucia has her hand up.
I don't see any hand up. Oh, Lucy has her hand up. Okay.
The audience has their hand up right now, but if they want to speak, please raise your hand. So this is the first I'm hearing of a landscape architect. I mean, if a landscape architect told them to do work in wetlands and buffer zone, you can certainly issue an enforcement order to them too. It's just really important that each enforcement order is issued separately. That's why I didn't combine Mayor Tree with Salem Country Club, because every person involved can all be held accountable. So did you guys want, I don't even know who this is the first time I'm hearing this of the landscape architect now.
Well, it's mentioned in that report that was from the Golf Journal that was in the Salem News.
Oh, what paper was that? Because he was reading a Globe one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know there's been like the one on the 27th of Salem News. I don't think maybe I did read it and I just missed it. But are you guys it seems that the commission is not concerned about this drainage that's going somewhere.
Don't say that. We haven't gotten there. The question, there's two things going on. I think we should find out who the landscape architect is that helped in removing the trees. And second, the bunkers that were from what I'm reading, you guys maintained or rebuilt all the bunkers. Is that correct?
That's correct. We rebuilt every bunker in this exact same location we were in.
Right. Now, in my understanding, and I don't play golf, but my understanding from the bunker is basically a sand trap, and under the sand, there is a membrane that lets water pass through. There's gravel, and then you have drainage pipes that take the water away to someplace else. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so the question is, when you change anything, the drainage gets affected, and where does the water goes towards wetlands? There's no question where it's going. And again, You guys changed all this without informing us, and it's in violation.
There's a name in that restoration project that was, this is all part of, I believe. The $3.5 million restoration project. And I believe that in there, the name it was in the report, it said it's expected that Eric Iverson of Renaissance Golf Design, the firm hired to provide this current restoration service.
That was the company we hired, and that's the golf course architect we hired, yes.
Okay.
Bill, on the bunkers, the drainage from the bunkers wasn't changed in terms of where it was directed, correct? They were rebuilt in place?
I don't know. Did they
No, I'm
change?
asking Bill Rocco.
I'm saying, but did they change the pipes? I don't know.
They were put the same in place, and we use the same outfalls sumps that were there before.
Did you replace the pipe?
Not the where the water went to. We just used the new stuff went into the old stuff.
To answer your question, yes, we did replace the pipes in the bunkers.
But the drainage, Mr. Chairman, goes to the exact same locations. None of the bunkers were relocated in any new locations.
Okay, again, I want to see the peer review on that as well. Because you can't just be changing drainage without telling somebody. It's all wetland.
No, they're not in wetlands,
They certainly go to wetland.
but they're not in the wetlands.
Well, they're not, but they drain to wetland, and it affects the it affects the jurisdictional area.
There is sand sediment traveling to a new wetland. That is an issue.
That's not accurate. There's no sand leaving the bunker.
That is what we were trying to get to the bottom of.
Well, I don't know if there's sand sediment, because there is a membrane between the sand and the gravel.
That wasn't an accurate statement.
What, there's no
The
membrane?
water is being directed exactly to where it was being directed previously.
Right, but is there a separation between the sand and the gravel?
Yes.
There's a filter.
Correct. That's what
And
the
was that
gravel does. That's right. So the water that drains through the bunker leaves through piping that is in the same location it was previously.
That's fine, but my question is, when the water hits the sand, it passes through a membrane that theoretically keeps the sand out.
Correct.
That's correct. That's what the liner is designed for, to keep the sand in the bunkers.
Did you replace all of the filters or all of the membranes in all the bunkers?
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, the answer is the same, though. You're still draining water to wetland.
Well, is the water that gets to the bunkers, that runs from the grass and slopes and gets to these bunkers, is that considered being treated? If you change the pipes, then is that considered proper treatment of that water?
Not a treatment system, it's a bunker.
So the sand might not get there, but is the water considered treated?
The question
It's
really
it's rainwater, so
yeah, but
I'm not sure.
you're also
Yeah,
fertilizing.
Let's not get lost in that. These bunkers are not treatment systems, they're bunkers. It's a golf course.
All right, you're saying let's not get lost in the weeds. I've had enough. You sound like a 2-year-old. Can we just move on to where we need to go?
You don't need to speak like that, Mr. Chairman. I think your members need to show more respect.
Please,
Mr. Chairman, I don't appreciate the comments being
I'm
made.
glad you don't appreciate
Mr.
it.
Wojcik called me a liar earlier, and now this member is calling me names. I really think that the chairman should control these members and act more
We
respectfully.
need to move in a direction.
Yeah, you need to not speak to people who are representing
Attorney
people
Fogel,
before the commission in that way.
Quiet.
No, I will not remain quiet, Mr. Wojcik. I represent a client here.
Telling lies about what we need to do because we
No.
determine what the country club needs to do.
Mr.
Not
Chairman,
Yes.
I would respectfully request that you ask the members not to address the representatives of the applicant or the party in front of you in this manner. It's inappropriate.
later.
It's inappropriate.
In order to move this along, if anybody has something to say, please do it with respect, because it's not going to get us anywhere if we're not respecting each other.
Thank you.
The next step, I think, is to wait until we get a peer to review the problem. And it would include bunkers as well.
So as soon as you have the peer reviewer on board and they're prepared to communicate, put them in touch with us and we'll coordinate a discussion with them and answer any information, questions they may have. We'd be happy to do it.
Chairman?
Yep.
I would like to make it known to the violator that I will not accept any restoration plan that does not include at a minimum 1.5 to 1 replanting in the zone of the offense.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm not disagreeing. I think that we have to restore wetlands because we need them for the environment. We can't just keep destroying them. And we have to make everybody aware of it. Look, I understand you're representing a country club, but in taking down that many trees, it really affects the carbon footprint of the environment. And I don't hear any way to restore that. Just that you want to play through. That's not good enough. We have to look at the total environment, the cost, and the health of the community. And that's what the Conservation Commission is interested in: the plants, the animals, and the health of the community.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anyone in the public that wishes to speak, but if not, can we just take a vote to end the discussion and continue at a time when the
Anybody in the public want to speak?
I do not see any hands raised.
Do we have a motion to continue this?
A motion to continue.
Second?
Second.
I would like to continue this. Well, when do you think we'll have a company hired, Lucia?
Well, let me just do the roll call, and then I do want to just touch base on that so that everyone knows the next steps. I haven't done one of these for a while, but anyway, the motion to continue until June 15th, made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Athos. Roll call: Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik.
Abstaining.
What?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, Commissioner Comac.
Yes.
Okay, so it passes 6-1, continuing until June. So basically tomorrow I will go in and I will send an email to Michael DeRosa of DeRosa Environmental confirming. He could also say, hey guys, stuff came up and I can't take this on, and then I would start over again. But we'll figure that out. So anyway, I would go in tomorrow. I would basically share with him all of the information. He would have to read it and digest it. It's probably going to take him a week or so to do that. And then he would come back with, like a fee sheet, what he thinks he's going to need to do. And then I would forward that over to Attorney Fogel and the Country Club. And then we can just hopefully we would have that, before June 15th. But honestly, the way things are right now with consultants, I have a feeling everyone is just completely swamped. So that is my plan, is to get in contact with DeRosa, send them everything, and then they will be the ones who kind of decide what the cost is, and then I would need to, that would be heard at either the June 15th or the July 13 hearing. And then the country club would give me a check, and then that would be deposited in escrow account, and then I would be the person responsible for paying all the bills.
Okay. Did we make it clear, Barry, and the rest of the people from the country club? Tell us what you're doing. Don't surprise us. We're in this together. And I hate being us against them. It doesn't do anybody any good. We want to restore this. We want to make sure everybody gets, to play golf. The city just has, please work towards helping us get the conservation part done. Okay?
Yes, understood, clearly understood, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
There is one last thing that I would like to mention.
Okay. Be nice.
I will. That is exactly the point that I'm going on to. Attorney Fogel is requesting that we are respectful to each other.
Mhm.
So I would like to request that anyone emailing the city, its agents, or ourselves does so respectfully, does so without insulting us, does so without using profanity towards us. That is my request to everyone watching this, planning on emailing the city in regards to this violation.
Okay. I agree with that. Be nice, people. Are we done tonight with this?
I think there's one more number on the
Oh,
list.
no, I know, but I want to be done with the country club.
Oh,
We're done with the enforcement order?
Yep, you made the motion to continue until June 15th, so you are definitely done, unless someone
Okay.
has something to say or people in the audience want to speak, but no one does, so the motion's been made. I'm getting tired.
We got one more, but I don't think we're gonna do anything. It's item 16 is a continued enforcement order issued to Pedro Polini. And I haven't been over there to see if the damage has gotten better or worse. Have you, Lucia?
I have not. I haven't even reviewed this delineation yet.
Okay.
But I will put it on my list of to-dos.
All right.
I'm gonna be out like in the field a couple times next week, so I can try to get out there.
I'm more than happy to join you.
Yeah, I think the last we said that I would get out there to look and see if it's if it's starting to vegetate and if it looks a little more stable. But I
Right.
mean, there's really nothing that's gonna happen, I don't think.
We don't even know who owns the land, so.
Well, it's definitely owned by the city or PMLP, so
Right.
it's
Okay.
but the work was not done by the city or PMLP.
Yeah.
So I would just leave it on the agenda. I don't think you need to continue it. But I did only finish the January 12th minutes. Sorry, guys. Like, I don't think you're going to be seeing February, March, the 2 meetings in March, April, and now this meeting for some time. So I don't have, I can't keep up with my workload, unfortunately. I just keep on taking more stuff, like a butterfly way station, which is going to be awesome. So I can't remember if you guys already voted on the January 12th minutes, though. So if you could just vote on them. I sent them to you a long time ago, and they're already up on the website.
move to approve the January minutes.
Second.
Second.
Was that that was made by Arthur, seconded by Vivaldi?
Right.
All right, I'm going to do a quick roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Athos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
and Commissioner Comack.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So if you guys want to see, if you want to know something about the minutes, you can ask me, and if I have it in my notes or I remember, otherwise you're going to have to watch the video. I'm sorry. But if you want to make a motion to adjourn, that would be lovely.
Make a motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Everybody.
Raise your hand if you're ready to go home.
Well, who made that first motion? I'm sorry, it was just everyone.
What made it? All 8 of us.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pick. I'm gonna say Travis. Seconded by
Everybody.
Travis.
Please, someone make them second. I saw Mike Rizzo first, so I'm gonna go with Mike Rizzo. Roll call for adjourn, and you can just actually raise your hands for adjourn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned at approximately 10:52. And I just want to say for the record, I believe Rita Marie clocked out. She didn't have voting rights anyway, but she clocked out around 8:50. Hold on. At 8:50.
I'm clocking out now too.
All right. Thank you, everyone, very much.
Right.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you, PAT.